Oh, great. All right, let's call today's meeting to order. Let's, want to do a roll call?
Yep.
Okay.
Commissioner Banerjee, here. Commissioner Venkataraman, yep, welcome back. Thank you. Commissioner Reeds, not here. Vice Chair Pieta.
Present.
Commissioner Katz.
Here.
Commissioner Schneider. Chair Humboldt.
Here.
We have one.
All right, awesome. Let's do the pledge. Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First things first, we have a special item today, and we're really thankful for folks to be here. And so it looks like we've got a proclamation recognizing this month of May as Bike Month. And thanks to everyone for being here. And I think, Gary, you're able to go for it if you like. And if you need anything from us, you know, we can help, but I think you're in good shape.
I'm Gary Hedden, representing Greentown Los Altos. I'm a resident of Los Altos. And it's my pleasure to introduce two students who are from Springer School. They're in the 6th grade. They regularly ride their bike to school. And so if you have any questions, they're here to answer. Kelsey, jump right up. And Tom. They've actually divvied up the assignment here and they'll take off, and Con will start with the first couple of the start of it, and then a couple of whereases, and then Kelsey will take over. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Whereas National Bike Month is held every May to recognize bicycling as a resource to improve citizens' health and well-being, grow our city's economy, improve traffic safety, support student learning outcomes, reduce pollution, congestion, and the wear and tear on our streets and roads. And
whereas the city of Los Altos and the local school districts have promoted bicycling for over 3 decades via our Complete Streets Commission and Walk a Rail program to increase the number of students walking or bicycling to school and reduce the number of vehicle trips associated with the school travel. And whereas the School of May, the residents of Los Altos and its visitors will experience the joys of bicycling through educational programs, commuting events, bike recycling, or by simply getting out and going for a ride to further our goal of encouraging residents of all ages and abilities to become lifelong cyclists.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, you guys want to take pictures or?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's what we're all here for. Yeah, that's part of the perk.
Yeah, there's stuff right there.
Yeah, get the podium.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, great.
Here is a certificate.
Oh, yeah, maybe open that up. Yeah, you can open that up.
That's,
They'll take it.
And it's signed by the mayor.
Thank you both for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks for riding your bikes. Yeah. No, yeah, why not? We should, absolutely. Okay, let's ask some questions. I can kick us off for sure. So you guys ride to and from Springer. That's awesome. Can you just tell us maybe a little bit about what that's like for you, and maybe, you know, whereabouts you guys live? What's the ride like? Help us understand.
for me, the ride's pretty easy because I live pretty close to the school. I've been doing it since around 2nd grade.
Wow.
And there's usually not much traffic, and it's pretty easy to get to and from school.
That's great. Yeah, very cool. Anybody else have anything they want to ask?
She wants to add something?
Yeah,
It's also a pretty easy ride to Springer. I also live really close. I live at the back of the school. There's not much traffic in the morning, which makes it easier to bike to and from.
cool. That's great. That's great.
Do you use a crossing guard?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Can you tell us something about the Walker Reading Days at your schools?
The Walker Wheel Day at our school, happened, I think, about a month ago, a little less than that. For me, it was pretty normal. And then when I came to school, I kind of just felt like, oh, you put your knees down and let's start it.
Get a sticker.
Yeah.
Does it feel like a lot of folks participate and you get a lot of folks riding or walking
Yeah, I
to school?
definitely see a
Yeah.
lot more bikes on the bike stands
Mhm.
there. Like, I
Uh-huh.
see like 2 times as many
Yeah.
than there are on a regular day.
That's awesome.
So just like, you know, marching out of there with the blender bike. That's all you get.
That's amazing. Very cool.
Ice cold drinks, smoothie, early in the morning.
I love it. That's wonderful. Yeah. We've done the Walker Wheels at Gardner Mullis and at Covington, where my kids are now, and, yeah, it's wonderful. So that's awesome. You guys are doing it too. Let me ask maybe a more specific question. Do you guys ever ride on Springer, road itself, or is that part of your route? Curious.
It's not.
Not exactly. Springer Road is behind the school, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of go on that road, but not most of the time.
Understood.
Oh, I got one more for you.
Yeah.
Next year you're going to block, you're gonna ride a bike.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, you gotta keep it going for sure.
I have a couple of questions. One is, do you mind sharing what grade you're in?
We're in sixth grade.
And, how did you get involved in the process and wound up speaking for tonight?
One of the parents came to our class to ask if anybody like wanted to, maybe whoever rides bikes, to maybe, read the proclamation, and they both raised their hands. And I was one of the people.
And do you ever or frequently ride your bikes, around town to other destinations besides school?
Sometimes, not always. Sometimes I ride my bike with my sister around the neighborhood or something.
And I think that we like going around, to hang out with friends and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have any ideas on improvements that you think you might want to make? Are there any problems that are going on?
For me, I think that it's very accessible for bikes, and most of the streets that have a lot of cars in them have bike lanes, if not all of them. And I feel it's a very comfortable and safe environment for a bike rider.
I have a question. Have you guys planned your route out to Eden then?
Block.
Oh, you're going to walk? Yeah.
No.
Sort of, a little bit. I've been trying to recognize the roads I'm on and how to get to school without moving and things like that.
That'll be your summer bus night.
Yeah, a lot of kids do it in the summer, not just elementary school and middle school. Practice it and find a route, because sometimes it's farther and a lot more conditioning.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you again. Really appreciated it. We've got a proclamation now, so we've got 5 months, so thank you.
Nice job.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got an informational item coming up. In fact, that right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to stick around, we're gonna talk a little bit more about Bike Month, feel free,
Yeah.
but thank you.
But you don't have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Run while you can.
Yeah. But yeah, appreciate it again. All right, let's talk more about Bike Month.
Thanks, guys. You guys did great.
Thank you. Yes, did amazing.
Thank you. Things. So, we've been planning for the past month. It's been a short planning, timeline. We've had, a group of, Los Altos staff, Los Altos Hills, commissioners, been joining the meeting, planning, and Tony, Lee, and we've had Lava, Greentown, so we've been planning this, and now it's May, tomorrow. First, the banner, I know you probably didn't see the banner yet, I think there's a banner on Lincoln Park that was supposed to be placed on Monday, there was a misinformation there, but we are putting that up as soon as MS video, so they're gonna put the May Bike Month banner, it's gonna be on Lincoln Park. And then, so we're gonna do all these events. I'm just gonna go one by one, and then maybe Mark, if you want to expand on some of these, you can, because you are a big part of the plan. So first thing was take the pledge. This is basically you go online, take the pledge, and you're gonna ride the bike, basically anywhere you want to go to. The first event is gonna be this Sunday, May 4th, the Living Electric Fair. I don't know, Mark, you want to say something about the Living? I don't want to click on it a little bit.
Sure, yeah, so it'll be an exciting event. There will be a section for transportation, which will have e-vehicles like cars, but also it'll have micromobility e-vehicles like bikes, class 1, class 2, and class 3 bikes. So people that want to see the difference between the class of bikes can come and learn. There'll be one wheels and scooters and skateboards that are also electrically powered. So all important micromobility devices to get around town. The PD is going to be there. They'll answer questions, and we're hoping that there'll be something from the Complete Streets Commission as well. Some educational pieces to help our community really understand and know what their options are and how to be safe on them.
Thank you.
So that's the Sunday, and then, yeah,
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
Is it okay to actually have comments and talk about that event while we're talking about
that's
it?
just an informational item.
It is informational, but I'm gonna, well, shut it down if you want to. So, I met, with Mark and Sergeant Michael Taylor, representing the commission, last week, to talk about how we might be able to support that event on May 4th. Because there's the exhibit that we have in Central Plaza is sponsored by both the city of Los Altos, and the commission is actually noted as a joint sponsor for that. And so, I personally plan to be there to help support that booth. And I believe the hours are from, 10 or 11 to 3.
11 to 3.
11 to 3, thank you. And in the process of doing that, it would be terrific, by the way, if other commissioners could stop by. I might have to leave at 2 or 2:30, and so it would be great if we get some additional help there. So I just wanted to put that out there. The other thing that would be great is that it's really super to have participation there. I have no idea how many people are going to show up, what questions they're going to have, what they want to talk about. We have, to my knowledge, no collateral that we can actually reference. There are actually going to be a couple of bikes in adjoining booths that are class 3 and a class 1 bike. And if people want to understand the differences, we can point that out to them and send a little to them. I had an interesting learning experience myself because I thought my son had a class 2 bike and I was going to bring it to our exhibit and say, here's an example of a class 2 bike, you know, and maybe if you have a young kid, you may or may not want them to ride that. And so I had my son send me the specs of the bike, just to confirm that it's class 2. And guess what? It's not, it's a hybrid. So the way the specs read is it has a throttle, it has pedal assist. It stops out at 20 miles per hour when you're using a throttle. However, if you use the pedal assist feature and you're pedaling, it goes up to 28 miles an hour. So it doesn't fit in the category of the class 2. It doesn't fit in the category of the class 3. I don't even know how to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to. But that is what we're dealing with, I think, when it comes to micromobility. The technology is moving much faster than cities, counties, states can begin to think about how to categorize and then enforce the different types of vehicles, because the vehicles are actually blended in such a way that it's not easy to define. So I wanted to share that. In the process of my research, I discovered that the County of Marin has some great information on their website. I sent some information out to the council about that. That is collaterable on micromobility safety and some tips that people have that they give out in terms of, you know, what you should do, what you should be aware of, and to think about in terms of safety and features. It would be great if, as a city, we had that kind of collateral, not just for this one event, because this event is going to reach some people, but a limited number. But to have that we could share with the schools, the school district, and get it out to a much bigger environment. I know that we don't have right now a educational consultant the way we did in past years. However, I think that would be something that would be worth throwing a little bit of funding at. We could certainly borrow a lot of content from what's already there. And I think it would be a layup and an easy win that wouldn't cost very much. So I just wanted to say that. Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Dr.
Yeah. So, that's the Living Electric Fair this Sunday. Next is gonna be May 7th, the National Bike to School. Schools get registered, you know, walk the wheel. We talked about the walk the wheel. I think, Gary was because of that, program, I think we used to do that spring.
Margie, but yeah.
Margie, yeah, Margie, exactly. And then next after that, actually, we're helping promote with, Town Los Altos Hills. It's May 10th, we're having the Los Altos Hills Pathways Run and Walk. So if you want to do some running with biking, register for that. That's for May 10th. May 16th, downtown Los Altos Bike and Dine, mark is right here. You probably can share more about it.
It's pretty straightforward. Basically, we encourage everyone to bike to downtown Los Altos. We'll have music and live band there. We'll have swag bags for anyone who registers in advance and shows up. There'll be a bunch of coupons for local restaurants with special discounts for anyone who biked, as well as flashlights and snap wrist bracelets that are reflective, so safety gear. And it should just be a really fun, festive Los Altos event. And it collaborates with the Bike to Wherever Days as part of Silicon Valley Bike Coalition Bike Month as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, so, if you have a chance, definitely do.
That's the coolest bag you gave us last time.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
So, yeah, definitely,
Is there a bike valley?
There's a
there is.
Oh,
There is, yeah,
Freetown Los Altos.
Freetown.
That's
Sponsored.
another thing, I don't know if Greentown needs volunteers, but I've volunteered at that every year and I can't do it this year, so it's good to have someone from the commission present at that.
Yeah, I was gonna actually ask, if the commissioners, you can come out and help at the bike rally on the fourth, on Sunday the
Oh,
fourth.
you're
Oh,
also.
the- oh, the ghost rally.
Because it's also an opportunity for people to talk to people about bike.
Mhm.
I'll be there at the bike rally. So if people want to join me, that would be great.
That's on the 16th.
On the fourth.
Otherwise, I'd be there with. Stephen and do it.
Yeah, but if you can't do it on this Sunday, then check if you can do it at the Bike and Dine.
Yep.
Because so it sounds like somebody will be there Sunday, but also having somebody at the Bike Valley at Bike and Dine would be really good.
You can let me know, or you can let Gary have know.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
So that's the biking dine. And then the next day is the Alchemy Ride, with, SBDC coalition. I don't know.
Yeah.
You mentioned. I don't have the information, so.
So the El Camino ride actually starts in Santa Clara and goes all the way up through Menlo Park, but there are special stations along the way, rest stations, and there's one at Eagle Park in Mountain View. So anyone that wants to just join the section that really rides through Los Altos, you can join a little bit early at Eagle Park in Mountain View and take it all the way up to California Street in Palo Alto, and you'll capture the whole section of the Los Altos piece of El Camino. So I think it's between 11 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. If you show up at Eagle Park, you'll be able to join one of those bike buses moving up El Camino. After that, you're on your own. And I'll have some swag there from Los Altos Hills and from Los Altos and Silicon Valley Bike Coalition. So for any Los Altos folks who come out and join the ride at Eagle Park.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Is this like a critical mass of bicyclists, like, or is it like very orderly structured, like going in the cadence so that people can ride the bike lane?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's not a critical mass, so everyone would be following all the regular traffic rules.
Mhm.
And they'll be riding in the bike lane or the rightmost lane closest to the curb. Yeah. Stopping at stop signs, stopping at stoplights, all that good stuff.
And I just wanted to mention, for those of you that haven't driven or don't drive down El Camino very frequently, the striping is now, I think, pretty much complete. And, they've really done a, very visible job of marking out the bike lanes. And I think there are intersections which I think are problematic just because of the way El Camino works. And I think they've done all they could possibly do, Carrie, to highlight those intersections in such a way that it certainly gets both the cyclists and motorists' attention that there's something going on there.
And again, it's not finished. We are gonna put, the vertical elements, so that's the next thing.
Yeah, there's definitely more needed.
It's not finished, it's not finished.
I think that ride was originally started because the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition wanted to raise awareness on the challenges of riding on El Camino, but this will be the first year where there's a bike lane on part of it, so that's exciting. I hope, and maybe give them some feedback. For all the people who are riding, I hope they're actually collecting the feedback about what worked, what didn't work, so then it can be passed on whether to the city jurisdictions and Caltrans. Because now that something's in place, because I think they're looking to plan for more stretches of it in our county. Yeah, thank you. Thank
I can add that,
you.
yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
It's great suggestion, for sure.
And then the last thing I'm gonna say is the recycled bike drive. So if you have an old bike, new bike, or whatever, you want to donate a bike, it's gonna be at Los Altos High School, parking lot for Greentown. And that's from 10 to 2 on May 17th, same day as the actual bike ride, so.
The ride El Camino and then.
I think donate your bike, but that's,
So, with the bikes that are donated, what are they gonna do with those? Or can you go over and pick one out?
Yeah,
Greentown, you know more about.
most of them are fixed, and then first gives are for students from the local high schools.
Okay.
Who need them. They're funded typically by Greentown or by the schools. And we also provide helmets and all other safety equipment with the bikes. So the remaining we sell it through our co-ops, which raise money to help the co-ops as well.
Okay. So if I was looking for a bike, I could buy one here.
You have to go, not from Greentown, but you can go on the co-ops and buy it.
All right, that's,
Again, that event is also a good place to volunteer. We know how to fix bikes, and if you're handy with tools, it'd be a great opportunity. We collect easily about 100 bikes every year, so.
I've donated bike there like a couple years. It's, if you have kids, it's a really good place to get when they outgrow your bike. It's just, send it there. Yeah. I haven't noticed.
If we're less knowledgeable about bikes, so maybe there's folks there who can help us, learn how to be.
Actually, that's
Useful.
yes,
Yeah.
there will be at least 2 or 3 master mechanics
Yeah.
there that'll guide you and so on.
That's awesome. That's a great program.
so those are all the events. And, yeah, please run the bike.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thanks, Mark.
Anything else, Mark, you wanna add? Since-
I'm excited, thanks for, just helping to promote bike month, it's a great thing.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I thank you,
That's
Mark,
great.
for your leadership and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question. Has the countywide, have they abandoned the bike to work day?
So,
I think there's still a bike to work.
yeah, I mean, it's mostly been morphed into a bike to wherever day.
Yeah,
And
or days,
Because the work day and the remote work has changed.
yeah.
But I don't know if the county, like officially, the Santa Clara County has a bike. to work day, I'm
No,
not
I don't, I think it was a broader area, but I think there's a national bike to work day, I thought. But I was just curious if people in the county were still organizing around bike to work day. And then those bike to wherever days, is that the same day as the El Camino ride? Or is that
It
something?
includes the Friday, which is when
Yeah,
the bike and
bike and
dining and
dining.
all the other energy stations all around the county.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So then it means we're participating in the bike to wherever days,
Yeah,
even though it's not on the
it's
list.
from 15th to the
Great.
17th.
Yeah, 15, 16, 17.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
15th.
Again, so Stacy, to your point, National Bike to Work Day is Thursday, May 15th. So that's it, according to national organizations and so
Yeah.
forth. And then we also will have, I think, 3 articles, is that accurate?
Oh, yeah, one came up. I read it this, I think it was this morning, right? I think it came out this morning.
Yeah, so there should have been one in today's paper.
Yeah, I think
There's one in next week's paper and then at least one in the third week.
And the second one is actually being written by Scott, so.
Very late.
That's-
My first ever town crier
So
published.
you'll see Scott, next week.
Yes.
Yeah, I see one from yesterday in town fair. That's what. it is.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
got everything in it. That's awesome.
I'll be focusing on the restriping and bike lanes that people are seeing around the city, how to treat them, how to recognize them and things that we've done in the past and way to be mindful of for bicyclists and for riders to cohabitate and live together peacefully on the road and safely.
So, awesome.
Thank you. Good job, Scott.
It's not a good job once you read it.
You don't-
Still a good job. There'll also be images and pictures to make it very clear, that's more like in complex intersections, especially with El Camino, or the San Antonio Foothill Junction, or other places, giving examples of how people are supposed to understand and work with bicycles.
Thank you. That's a lot of great stuff for May. Okay. Absolutely, yeah. Does anybody else have any comments for things that are not on the agenda? No, doesn't. Okay, we can go to consent calendar. We approve the minutes for, we've got 2 sets of minutes we need to approve for our meeting on March 26th, the regular meeting, and a special meeting on April 10th. You need a separate approval of each of those.
We can do separate.
Okay.
So I have a question
Sure.
that we do approve. So I know that we do action oriented minutes, but these minutes are getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier every month. Oh, okay, I didn't mean to pick
I'm
on
actually the one who's doing it. So.
Okay,
But yeah, give me some advice, yeah.
well, typically when I see action minutes, I mean, I've seen them reference, they might name the public speaker,
Sure.
or they might say they brought up these topics.
Okay.
And then when the commissioners have a discussion, even though you're not gonna detail the whole thing, you might say the commissioners discussed this, and that.
Okay. Alright.
I
Noted.
I don't mean to pick, I didn't mean to pick up you, I was just feeling like, oh,
Yes.
keep getting skinnier.
Yes, that's noted, yeah.
Thank you.
But We definitely got that I was late.
I have to put that down because I did the roll and you're absent, you know, and so.
That's expected. I mean, good minutes capture that.
Yeah.
Come and go from the meeting.
Because no, because I did the roll and you weren't there, so I had to put your right place because,
No.
because on my thing, it says you weren't there.
It's all good.
So,
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just called that
it's
out.
not just for you too, Tom's been late a couple times.
I didn't mean to open a can of worms.
No worries. no
I
worries.
would expect the minutes to have when people arrive
Sure.
late and the times they arrive. I think that's new though. That's something that
Okay.
until you started doing the minutes art on all my years on this commission, that was never done.
No, unless you got on the roll call, if you're already there and you're a little, then I don't put it in.
Yeah.
But if you're, I did the roll call and you're not there, like
Yeah.
if Tony comes down, I would like that whole time.
Yeah, as you should.
They never did that before. No, well, I'm doing it now.
We know.
Okay. So, what do we need?
We need a motion.
Yeah.
Number one.
Can we move to, approve the minutes for the March 26th meeting?
Motion.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, great.
What's the first one?
Commissioner Pietro.
I move to approve the March 26th.
One second.
Oh, I thought you could do something.
Clarifying the Tom second. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, can we approve,
No, that's,
Oh, yes, sorry.
Is all agreed?
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye,
That's
yes.
good.
Okay, how about for April 10th? Do we have a motion?
I have a quick question, just to follow up on the meeting, I know that we were going to, just for clarity, we were going to discuss the outcome of that meeting at this meeting. I guess, so what's the plan going forward for the plans?
Oh, yeah, I'll bring that up. Let's get this thing, and we'll bring it up as I'll bring it up.
Let's see if it's.
So let's just do the consent.
Yeah. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, we have a motion.
Minutes, approval?
I move to approve the April 10th minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thanks, Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Thanks.
And then Wes, not to interrupt you,
No.
you can do the whole consent on one vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's what we can consolidate. Thank you, appreciate that. All agencies are welcome. Okay, so then we can move to our discussion item, but I think that this discussion can incorporate
Sure.
discussion on work plan items that took place in the prior
Sure.
meeting. We can talk about
Yeah, sure.
work plan status. Yeah. I think that's how we get, one way.
Yeah. Or I can do it.
Because I was not sure, and that's why I brought it up in the previous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay, great. So I know in the prior meeting, there was a conversation about some of the specific items in the work plan. And I think maybe it makes sense to just talk about where we are on the status of that. Do we have anything from the city on any updates between the prior meeting and today?
Steve will bring that up, or I just wanted to bring it up. The plans were not ready for today. So we are actually setting up a special meeting on May 14th, because we just gotta make this. So May 14th, that's a Wednesday, there's gonna be a special meeting, and that, again, that's, we just talk about this plan, so, and stream service.
Just to let the commissioners know, and request the commissioner, we are sending out postcards to the residents to let them know that we are going to be talking about the annual streets project. In next week, in the special meeting, I will provide a breakdown of all the requests from the commissioner of what is being requested and my response to those all the requests, whether it's being incorporated, why we're trying to do it, things like that. So that information will be provided. 2 weeks was too quick of a turnaround time for us to go ahead and send out all the mailers and having our consultants revise the plans based on the comments is the reason why it was not included into the meeting.
On the mailers, are you putting only the people that are on that street or people like maybe?
We're putting in 500-foot radius of those streets. So, the location is, removing and replacing kind. There's no modifications to that. The roads that is, very specifically, being sent out are Springer Road, Monty, and Newcastle. Those three were the ones that the commissioners were really interested in talking about. All the other ones are, basically, like I said, we're removing what is existing and putting back what is, what was there.
Is everybody, got a date in mind for that?
I think it was May 14th.
May 14th. I will send out a calendar invite.
What about Stony?
What was the question?
Well, we could talk about that as well.
I think the question is, that wasn't on the list, the way I heard it, that Stonehaven would be on the list of you're just putting back exactly what was there for striping and.
Well, we're actually improving the striping, so yes, we could add, include those residents as well. if you like. So,
And then in addition to the residents, are you notifying the school communities and the PTA groups that where there's routes to school?
it wasn't our intent. When we were putting in 500-foot radius, the words get out pretty quickly.
No, it doesn't. I think in the past, the city has contacted the school communities and let them know when these improvements are being made. Because I think if the school communities are able to participate, and this is a really hard time of year for them at the end of the school year, you will get a lot of different feedback from the person whose kid rides on that street on the way to school than the resident who is right there. And, and
Let me write through.
The mailing radius is 500 feet, so it's not just the residents right on the street. It's actually all the surrounding.
it applies, like my comment applies to the 500 feet radius where postcards are mailed. You will get a different set of feedback than you will from if you get the feedback of the school community who walks and bikes on the streets on their way to school.
They walk, bike, I agree with.
Okay.
Farther than, maybe half a mile away. Instead of 500 feet. Yeah, no, to the parents.
And even if you notify the school community, I'll just tell my fellow commissioners, I won't expect them to be here a couple of weeks before school dismissal. So I think the onus will be on us is to make sure we put the voices of the people who aren't in the room into the needs. And I, by the way, won't be here. Because I have a schedule conflict.
I'll be out.
Okay, that's, I want to make sure we have, we need to have form, so, but yeah, we're right now, it's set for May 14th.
Stacey, just as to complete your, son about this notifying PTA and school groups, is the city staff aware of what channels those might be? Or is it?
Well, they should be. I can't say if they are. or
No,
not.
just it's opening it up, so we are closing the loop on it.
We're trying to be as transparent as possible. To
No, what channels do you use? to make the community?
What do you mean by channels?
How do
I
you-
mean, are you wanting us to go
Well, the
ahead?
recommendation was made by Commissioner Banerjee to send notifications to the PTA, school PTA. and the-
Yeah, so we're sending out the postcards to all the residents. If we would like, we could include the school. I don't know to what extent the commissioners would like us to notify, because the minimum requirement, we have already exceeded that. So we have already made public outreach as much as we can. The question is, how far do you guys want us to go?
I think you need to go much farther than the minimum requirement, and I think you need to do what historically has been done in the years that I've been on the commission, which is reach out to the school administrators, and in some years, reach out to the PTA leaders of each of the schools impacted. And if some of those schools have safe routes leaders to them and to Greentown and the community organizations, I think we need to do better than what's been done in the past. That would be my opinion. And again, even if you do that, and in the past, we've done sandwich boards on the street corners. And some of the texting, and still it's difficult to get the voices in the room. And I'll just be a broken record, a couple weeks before school was out on a short notice. it's disappointing, and then a major item to have commissioners get it's a special meeting, not on our regular schedule, 2 weeks' notice, and there's already multiple people saying that the schedule conflict, they can't be here, so.
Yeah, may I speak? Sure. Yeah, the reason it's a special
Maybe one,
meeting.
I'm not sure the camera will pick you up, the microphone.
Director Freeman from Public Works. Thank you so much for your comments. Yeah, the reason it's a special meeting is to ensure that the public outreach is done. So I appreciate the comments about the schools. My team is doing the outreach to 500 feet. However, the schools for those streets are gonna be changing. The schools can definitely be contacted. For the ones that are like for like inclined, those are as a courtesy for information only. But for the ones that are gonna be changing the design, we wanna be, as Steven mentioned, as transparent as possible and reach out, the community and the schools for sure. So, yeah. Thank you.
So, what would you guys, get them scheduled?
What about the downtown?
We are already reaching out to the downtown separately, and some of the feedbacks I received was receptive of what is being proposed.
Okay, great. So then we'll work with you guys on scheduling the special meeting. I'm gonna be on that day too, so. I
Yeah,
might have to-
we might have to change it, but, right now,
Yeah.
the room is reserved, for the 14.
Yeah.
So, if we need to change it, we have to change all the neighbors,
Yeah,
but we definitely did that, yeah.
okay, let's get that figured out. Okay. Thank you guys for getting that.
Just what I need to add, in fact, one of the reasons why we're trying to push this along is because we're really running out of a window of our construction window. So if we do not, try to hit that window, not only do we, lose an opportunity to do this year's annual streets, but we also are in jeopardy the funds.
If we need, if it helps us hold the meeting, I'm not sure how many other folks will be there, but I could probably be remote. I could probably-
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, we do have a little bit of flexibility,
Yeah.
it's just not a whole lot.
Totally. No, we wanna,
So.
You have to have an in-person forum, though, I understand.
oh, is that right? Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
So-
You got the
Someone
majority, the
can-
majority.
Someone can attend remote, but you have to have a forum.
Yeah,
in
here.
person.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Susan.
I think,
Or can we, just a suggestion, I was thinking,
Listen.
maybe a community meeting, because you don't need that forum, I don't know, I will talk to you internal about that.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to have that.
Yeah, it's not, it's, yeah.
yeah, you can have a community meeting without a forum, if it's not a commission meeting, but then the question is, then are you bringing it back to the commission? Like, is somebody approving it or recommending it, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just if you need action from the commission in that meeting or thereafter, yeah, exactly. No, it makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, just from what you guys need out of the meeting, yes, yeah.
And then I'm a broken record on this, but I hope we learn from this process that next year we start this fall at least.
Yeah.
So we don't have the time pressure.
Well, we have already started the process for the next year. The whole reason why this year was so delayed is because the commission requested us to bring a list of all the projects for the next 5 years. So it took us a while to get that thing, brought up and then approved by this commission.
Did the commission request that?
The second.
Oh.
The list of students.
Okay, I think we need to have a separate discussion because that needed to be done anyways, because without that, I'm not sure how we're gonna plan for next year.
Well, like I said, the next year's list has already been started. Based on what has been approved by the commissioner, we have already tried to reaching out to get those projects started as soon as possible.
But I disagree with the statement that this process was delayed because we requested the funding plan. Just for the record, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't, that's the first I've heard that, yeah. No, that's a little surprising, yeah. Okay, great. All right. Let's see, okay, so then, those are the ones that came up in the last meeting. Is there anything else that is ready for discussion? Sort of along the lines, any other like city work towards other work plan items. I mean, I know Stephen, you mentioned downtown, so maybe that's already, worked as well. And that's
Yeah,
great.
we already have a separate meeting set up for downtown. I
Awesome.
believe it was, May 5th, I believe, is what I recall.
Awesome.
But it is, to the downtown, it's
Very cool.
So the downtown view,
coalition,
the
well,
downtown,
basically the business. All the business.
through Lava,
It's through the city manager's office, so I'm not exactly sure who.
I don't, may I just pop up a little and ask a question about the purpose of the work plan? Because I don't, you know, we've talked about it once or twice in the past, but I still don't have clear understanding. Is this a document that basically is on the record and doesn't change over the year? And then we create another one next year? Or is this actually a working document that we're gonna update as we go along? And say, this is where we are, so if something is complete, we mark it off as complete, and we all agree on that. If something is not gonna be done, then we say it's not gonna be done, or if it slips, it's gonna slip, or if the actual content changes, we talk about that. And I'd like to just understand that a little more clearly, both from a commission perspective, especially because this is our work plan. And then if the staff believes that the city has a view of these work plans that's different than our understanding, let's put that on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I can give my sense of things, Steve, but it's probably about the same as your understanding, which is, you know, I think this is the work plan until it's not, essentially, you know, and we're aware that there's an element of dynamism in it, where if something comes up where there's a problem, you know, safety issue or a street condition issue or something else, then we could update the plan, like in terms of adding something mid-year, I think, if we needed to. But otherwise, I think this is pretty much.
But I just wanted to say, this is the work plan that was approved by council, city council.
Right.
Right, so.
Right.
This is 2025, and we're working with 2026. Just another subcommittee or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
then work on that.
Right.
This is for 2025, that was approved by city council.
Right.
Thank you.
So if we agree with that, then in my mind, there's an awful lot on this work plan. And we as a council are limited in what we can do because we don't have a budget, we don't have a staff, the city has a staff and a budget. And if there are things on the work plan that we believe we're not gonna actually get to, whether or not we change it on this piece of paper, we should talk about that and say, we're not gonna spend time on that because we're not gonna do it. And just as an example, I'm starting at the top on number one. Our number one goal is there are three key items in terms of projects. One is safe routes to school education. My belief is that, and it says ongoing work. I think the ongoing work was the dialogues that we were having as a city with the Los Altos High School around all the issues that were happening when we changed Jardine. That's done.
Yeah.
So in my mind, unless there's a budget to actually create education material, to engage PTAs, to engage school districts, to engage other schools this year, then we should basically say, all right, that education item is now complete, and we're moving on to other things. Now, I do believe in 2026, if we don't start in 2025, that the city, it would be a really good thing to budget some dollars for education material, because I think that's important and a huge asset in actually increasing safety for kids both walking and biking to school. If that's not in the budget this year, then let's not delude ourselves and think we're gonna do something when we're not gonna do it.
Can I add something? Or Stacy, go ahead.
oh, I didn't mean to take it.
And that's just an
So-
example.
Yeah, I think it's an example, and now I probably shouldn't go into details of the example, but I guess I have the question of, well, is the Los Altos High School effort, was that the only thing that was going on? Because to my knowledge, there's usually more going on than that. And then Andrian is no longer here as the consultant for partnership with the schools on education and encouragement. But it sounds like there's some collaboration with Greentown and making things happen broader throughout the city. And I'm assuming maybe the police, some years the police department does other bike rodeos, because there was this idea to get rid of the vendor and have the police department take over the education. So we don't know where that's at. So I think the point is Steve, I'm not ready to take that off the list, because I think there's a whole bunch of other things that should be going on for education, number one. And number two, and we were promised sort of a we were told that the model, if I got it right, Stephen, with Andrea, like it wasn't working with Andrian, but there was supposed to be something else that was coming. So we're kind of waiting for what's that something else and when is it coming, number one. Number two, I wouldn't say that there's no budget. Every year the city gets a budget from VTA as part of Measure B for its flag marked for education and encouragement. And you can supplement that and you can partner with other organizations, but there is some money earmarked for education and encouragement. And then the county has a Safe Routes School program, which includes an education and encouragement element, and all their resources are available to our city to use and to the schools to use.
So Stacy, I guess the question I would ask then is that if all of that is valid, then how does that actually, how do we find out about it, number one? How do we prioritize it, number two?
Just to let you know, the police is trying to start an education program, but do you have a framework for that? Unfortunately, this person who is going to lead that is, they're having a staffing shortage. So the person has not been able to start that program, so. We did offer the $23,000 so that we do get for the education component. They do have all the necessary stuff that they need. It's just a matter of having the staff to start implementing it, and start visiting the schools to start educating the kids.
So what do you think, Steve, how do we find out about that, including this and all the other things? Is we put it on our agenda as an agenda item and have everyone who's working on it come and, or staff aggregate a presentation and present it to us, and then we can ask questions and discuss it and give feedback and comment.
I think, for this work plan, I think we need a way for us to make progress on this. Right?
Yeah.
Kind of what we're doing now, we're sort of ad hoc, going through this. So I think, I don't have an answer right now, but I think we should come up with a way that we discuss each one of these items. The streets resurfacing is, at this point, is kind of, it's off, it's running.
Yep.
And, we can discuss that as a special, as an item in our agenda. So let's not try to go back to that during a work plan, right? That's a special, that's a separate item. But I think we should try to make progress on each one of these.
Yeah.
It's one proposal may be that, maybe in today's meeting, we go through each one of these items and see what the commission, as a commission, we can make progress. And what we might want the staff, what information we may want from staff, or if there is an item that we are waiting on staff, and we can then table it, and then, wait for, discuss later.
I think that's okay. I can also just say, I think in transportation, besides some of these activities where we partner with the community, it's hard for us to make progress without the staff.
Well,
But let me finish it.
Now,
I
I just
think-
want to clarify when I say what I mean by progress. What I mean by progress is not work, but at least list these issues that we are discussing
Yeah.
for each one of these items.
Yeah,
That is, let's make notes of those
Yeah.
things during this meeting.
and
That way we know we have a record. That's what I
That's
meant
good.
when I mean progress.
that's good. And what I would add to it is as we go through that, can we please flag mark? Okay, this is what we need to make progress. When are we gonna make that progress? What month is it coming to our agenda? Because I'm feeling, with all respect to our leadership, as a commission, we're not really getting anything done. And I think we all have to think about how can we get more done.
So, I'm proposing that we try to make progress on some items as we go, one at a time.
Yep.
I'll leave it at the chair, how you wanna,
Yeah, absolutely.
think about how you wanna structure the discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes sense to really kind of develop these and to both of your points. Sort of understand how we can make progress and, yeah, I think I took some of what you're saying, Suresh, around like, we want, to the extent we want to ask city staff about things, we just want to ask it in a useful way, a pointed way, and sort of understand what might be there for us to get in terms of information or pathways to make progress on this stuff, to the extent we decide it is a priority, when certain things are a priority. Okay, great.
Just to follow up, I think it would be good for someone to take notes as we discuss each one of these items.
Yeah, I've got some notes going that I can use for
Okay,
this,
perfect.
yeah, for each of these. And I've got the work plan up here too. Yeah, great. So maybe we can stay on the item that we were talking about.
Yeah, let's go through one from the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the first project under number one is just the sort of CIP project. So, go down to, education and outreach.
I mean, when you
Yeah.
say that, I would just give everyone an opportunity to comment on that one.
Yeah,
Oh,
even the first
yeah.
one? Yeah,
Yeah, so that way we have captured and we're not
Yeah.
revisiting this.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Sure. That's a good idea.
And then if you miss any notes or anything like that.
Yeah.
there is-
So-
There is
Yeah,
a video, so
absolutely,
you
yeah.
can go back to the
For
video.
sure. Yeah.
So what month are we getting an update from staff on the CIP project?
Well, if I understood staff correctly, and don't let me misstate anything, but I think the idea is that our next update will be at a special meeting to be scheduled, in the coming weeks.
So it is scheduled for May 14th, but if we don't get forms.
So the CIP project list equals the resurfacing and nothing else. Is that correct?
Just the annual student service, yes,
That's our only CIP project.
for that.
No, not for that.
Well, for that meeting.
For
that's not-
no.
Just for this
For
item on the work
transportation.
plan.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, Steve, you wanna add something to it?
Wait a minute, I'm just
Yeah,
trying to,
I'm not-
I'm just trying to understand exactly
I
what the
understand.
comment is. If you want to talk about the whole year is one discussion. If you're just talking about the project that we're trying to get out, it is just the annual streets.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the annual resurfacing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the spirit behind that item, work item was all the CIP projects for the year, right? And where safe routes to school improvements can happen in each one of those CIP projects.
Mhm.
So I think the question is the list complete at this point for this year?
Yes.
It is. And second question is, I guess the preview that is that list comprised entirely of the resurfacing projects, or are there other projects that will come this year?
That's just strictly Dan.
So for this year, all CIP projects have listed as part of the state's resurfacing.
Correct.
So is that a question that you have?
That's the question.
And then I think the follow-on question is, all the safe routes to school improvements have been identified as part of that list.
Yes, because the plan does implement all the safe route to school elements that has been identified in the complete street master plan.
Okay.
Regarding the first topic, so 4, I think, captures what we're talking about, projects.
Yeah, we'll come to that,
Right.
yes, right.
But
Yeah,
that's what
Yeah, they're-
we're lumping
they go-
in,
they
that's
go
one
together.
piece of it. The part that I think that I'm recalling from prior meetings is like the bridge that, I don't know the name of the bridge, but the bridge.
Fremont.
Fremont Bridge, thank you. Are there any other CIP projects like that would fall into this overall big list, right? So it's like the annual street resurfacing, the Fremont Bridge. Is there anything else that we need?
No, I don't think the Fremont Bridge is part of this year.
Actually, it's part of last year's, but we're constructing this year.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not part of our working.
Yeah, I mean, that one's a maintenance
Yeah,
issue.
it's not a commission working.
It was.
It was last year.
Before they went
So
to.
not for this year.
Yeah.
Right. So I think Stephen is pretty clear. I think the CIP is all just the resurfacing projects for this year.
Right, when you say this year, we 25, 26.
Correct, yeah, whatever this work plan year is.
Right.
It's calendar year twenty
Yeah,
twenty-five,
that's what-
work plan is calendar year 2025.
Yeah.
Is it calendar year?
Yeah,
That's right.
But that's what the work.
Yes.
Okay.
This work plan covers calendar 2025. Yeah. Yep. Okay, is there anything else that we want to talk about for this first item, first project?
Anybody else?
So we're on item 4 now, right?
No.
I don't know why.
You're on item
One.
one.
Okay, right here.
Yeah. First goal, first project.
Okay,
Updating
thank you.
safe route to school infrastructure, implement where applicable the 2025 CIP project list. And we're hearing that is in place, and I think part of what I take from what I heard from you, Stephen, was my understanding as well, which is part of the reason why we're foregrounding the few projects that we are right now is because those are the ones that are essentially like at the highest risk of slipping into next year, right? But that overall work, and so,
Yeah, I think.
yeah,
that's-
everybody
We're on the
understands,
same
yeah,
page.
exactly. It doesn't mean that we're not prioritizing and working the other projects on our list. Okay, great.
Anybody else input on that one?
no, I'm
No.
just suggesting you keep going in the process approach you were taking, Suresh.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, great. Then we can return to the education and outreach, program. Commissioner Banerjee made a couple great comments about sort of what maybe ordinary practices for the city, in terms of having budget for,
Yeah, sorry, I think I would just get I think let's get an update from city staff as to, there was some plan, right? For us to do some education, one was PD and anything else. Was there anything else that the city is working on at this time?
Education regarding.
This is, number two on the projects list, which is safe routes to school education.
outreach and education at school.
No, we've been trying to find partners to go ahead and do the public outreach.
I know the city staff has reached out to Greentown. But in the meantime, the bike month and work is happening, but I think it would be good to put some structure around it. But other than the PD and then outreach, is there anything else? I think the Adrian's work is done.
No,
Have there been any specific outreach to any of the schools?
we're relying on PD to go ahead and do that outreach because they've already started building that relationship.
I think it would be good, let me just propose that maybe the PD come to the next meeting or so and give us an update on what's happening there.
I just want to bring that up, I did approved by PD, they just don't have the staff come tonight, so
Okay.
I'm keep reaching out to them, and they'll come.
Yeah, I think that would be good,
But I did invite them tonight.
Stephen, I didn't hear when you expect that staff person to be on board to actually do the work that you were talking about
Which one?
for the, for SRTS education.
There was no timeline given by the police chief because we are really struggling trying to recruit the qualified people at the police department. So they are trying to do other incentives to try to recruit people to get on board. So we can try to expand the PD staff and so we can go ahead and do this. So the person has already been identified. We just gotta get that person to start doing this by relieving some of our other rules and responsibility.
And then does the work that Andrea was doing, because I know you said that we're pulling that back and then figuring out what to do, is that getting then rolled into this person in the police department's job? Or is that still an outstanding thing to be determined, or do you have another plan for that?
One of the reasons why Alta was, we did not extend this, their contract was the work that they were doing was beyond what was, being asked of the education component. They were supposed to educate for some odd reason, it morphed into more than that. So we were spending exceeding amount of money for their work. So with that in mind, we are trying to reestablish what the intent of measure of the grant, the education component by working with the police department. They have already identified they're going to go ahead and do the education towards all the schools. They have already identified how they're going to go ahead and do the program, as well as what education they want to provide. They have already identified what schools they want to go ahead and do. And they have already started the process of building that relationship with various schools.
So just for clarity, let me ask again. So what we're planning to move forward, well, we didn't have a discussion about what didn't work with Alta and what's the commission's advice on how we should move forward for education. With that said, is the city's intent to have the police department the owner of all the safe routes to school education?
Yes.
So if we have somebody from police come and.
Yeah. Okay, so that would be I think that would be the ask, yes, to put it on the agenda.
Right.
That sounds great. Okay. Let's agendize that.
And will the police, the PD then reach out to community members from the other community organizations to support and help in the effort?
I'm not sure.
Okay, then we'll ask that question, I guess, when they're, okay.
You know,
So the ask is, we'll agendize this.
Yeah.
For an upcoming meeting, have PD join. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, moving on to the next.
Can I,
Yeah.
Just to make another suggestion, I think I'm not able to find another place to fit this in, but this is what Commissioner Katz was saying about creating these materials for education. And I think, this is the bucket that best fits what you are asking in terms of the work plan. So the question is, I don't know if you want to make a recommendation as to what we may want to do. But I think it's a good idea because many.
I don't have a recommendation as much as I have a question. So does city staff also believe that there would be value in having either website content or content that could actually be distributed to schools in such a way that they can get out to students and parents that would help them understand not only micromobility safety, but bike safety and scooter safety and behaviors that they should be using for safe routes at school. Is that something that staff believes would be of value and believes would be worth spending some money on?
I spoke to Sergeant Taylor, for the Living Electric Fair this weekend. They will have some handouts. So a couple officers will be there at the booth and we'll have handouts and materials, so.
Yeah, and I'm going.
I haven't seen it,
Yeah, but I'm talking beyond that.
Right, but I'm just saying that's what they're planning to start.
So then I think as a commission, and does the police department then you own that as well?
I would speak for the
Collateral?
I think we'll just have to ask a lot of questions of the police department. What I would say for staff and commissioners, when I was first on this commission, every year, the city and the commission, there were materials submitted to the schools back to school packets that were in there. And the commission often reviewed the materials some of them we didn't publish, they were published by other third parties or in the county. But was reviewed before it went out. And there's also stuff on the Safe Routes to School maps. So those maps should be going out every year, but it's sounding like nobody knows, it sounds like. So I don't know if this is a separate agenda item or if this is just part of our conversation with the police, because it sounds like transportation is saying the police is taking this over.
That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, I think we start with the question to the PD to see where they are, and then we have to figure out how to supplement. If they're not doing certain things, then we want to supplement that work. Maybe next we should consider someone with the commission taking some ownership and trying to at least document what are the things that we want to get done as part of the safe routes to school. You know, it's not generating the materials, but at least trying to document, see if that helps. And, you know, if there are models like in Marin County and a few others where they have developed this content, you know, then reach out to them possibly and see if we can borrow material, what works here. yeah, what works and what, so on. So I think maybe after we have a discussion with PD, maybe that's the next step.
That makes a lot of sense. That's a great suggestion. Thanks, Suresh. And I'm happy to help us, sort of move that forward too. Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, call number one, item 3. So I think under education or past education, we had wayfinder maps and signage, for safe routes to school. And, what we had noted for this one was we would together explore the value of wayfinding and signage, such as for safe routes to school. And I think, you know, since we put this on the work plan, one thing that I noticed is we do actually have these around town. I sort of, started looking and seeing quite a bit more, after that point. And so it is interesting that, this does exist and historically was created and sort of, prioritized in town, which is interesting. But yeah, I definitely appreciate other folks' sort of input on the commission about.
I think this was originally proposed by, Commissioner Pietro.
I think I might have been part of that too.
This
Yeah.
is a pretty ambitious project in my mind. It's a good project, but it's pretty ambitious. I think we may want to figure out what steps we can take to get to there.
Yeah.
But that's my kind of input, like to hear from everybody else.
Yeah.
You want to say something, Scott?
Well, I mean, I guess the place to start with this, I don't know who takes it on, but is to do a state of the union, right? Like, where are we today with this? What current uses you're seeing signs in town? What historical things were done? You were talking, Stacy, you're shaking your head as in not really. So.
Well, I didn't say it's a,
Yeah.
you know, smashing success, but I would just
Yeah.
around town, I would say at least 2 or 3 different places we do have.
Yeah, I agree with you, we
Yeah.
have those,
Yeah.
and those are historic, and they've been there for a long time,
Yeah.
but they're not targeted at bicyclists or pedestrians. So if you go over to Cupertino,
Yeah.
you'll see a set of green street signs.
Yeah.
That says, this, the library is this way for bikes in this much.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I would just volunteer that when I look at that topic, it's overwhelming.
Sure.
Because of the size of Los Altos, the number of schools, the places of interest. And I think that we need to narrow it down and prioritize what it is we're gonna focus on within a reasonable time frame. And, the thing that jumps out to me is what we've been talking about for the last couple of months, which is really how do we improve safety downtown? Not only for school children, but for anybody on bikes or pedestrians. And when I think about that, and I think about, the fact that Mark's here tonight, one of the things that I think about is that, one of the things that staff is doing is you're going to be putting new bike racks up. And I think it would be really interesting if somebody who's knowledgeable could think about whether it makes sense to have any wayfinder signs downtown for cyclists. Because it's such a precarious set of streets that we have with parking and traffic and everything else that would actually improve that area. And it's a very confined space where I think that if we wanted to say, does it really have an impact? Might get something done in a reasonable amount of time here. Now, maybe that's not the best place to start, but it's something that I would say, let's find some place. Let's find a place to apply it if we are serious about it. And then say, yes, let's take that on. And maybe it's not downtown, maybe it's a whole other kind of thing. I don't know, but I don't think that we're ever gonna get anything done if it's that big. We've got to chunk it.
I don't think it's a huge effort. It's putting up a couple signs, it's like making routes and maps and putting up a couple signs throughout town.
The problem is.
Cities bigger than us have done it.
Yeah, but the reason why, there's some, Stacy, it's a things about, I think it's an ambitious project, but it's not easy because, we want to cover all the safe routes. And that's the main thing. The main thing, it's the goal is under the safe routes to school. And this is for wayfinding and so on primarily.
I don't know how you wayfind every safe route to school.
Yeah.
Because our maps, we don't even have agreed upon, all the schools didn't, we didn't even get all the right
Yeah.
feedback that we don't have the agreed
Yeah.
routes.
Right, so that, and that's kind of why I said it's an ambitious project.
Yeah.
But the question is, I think the downtown, kind of dovetails into the next item we have. But I think downtown is a good project to do this, because I think wayfinding, finding biking and making sure that you're routing people the right way can help a lot. And that's a separate project. I see that as a separate project from the safe routes to school. Maybe we can discuss this when we come to the next item.
Okay.
But for the safe routes to school, I've been thinking, coming to the meeting, thinking about how we could make some progress towards this. And I think this is gonna require dollars to help. I mean, this is gonna require a consultant of some sort to help make progress to this. And I think
That's a good point.
as a discussion, I'm not sure the city wants to engage in that discussion at this time. And if it's something that we want to do, I think, that's my take on it,
So,
thinking about it.
Sorry to interrupt, I'm kind of lost, I have a question. Scott, were you originally intending this as a safe routes to school wayfinders throughout the city
Well,
or
it's
just
listed as
wayfinding?
both, it's complete streets master planning and safe routes to school, right? So that is how it's listed.
Yeah, but what was your original intention? with
My
this
intention, I
wayfinding?
guess, mimicking what I've seen in Mountain View
Yeah.
heavily was
Yeah.
having to navigate from Sunnyvale,
Yeah.
and there's signs along El Camino that says like bike route this way, then you go up El Camino, you go through the neighborhoods. And it brought me
And
4
prioritize the
miles
food routes.
from deep Sunnyvale to my house to the edge of Mountain View, and I was like, this is nice. And I guess that what we need with some of these things, I think need to have smaller work groups, like not the ad hoc committees, but like, I'm passionate about this with one other person, we take it on and we work forward. But ultimately, like, what's the baseline for where we are now, and then how do we get to the, in the 2025 to make a decision or take work on it, so that's how I think this.
So I agree with what that vision is, because that's what I see the other cities around us doing, and I think that could be inclusive of the downtown. But I think that taking on mapping all our safe routes, like, that's really complicated.
It's not mapping out safe, we already have safe routes. I think the question is wayfinding is
Yeah.
using that maps. to
But we
do it.
don't have all the safe routes, because when you took the schools, I don't know if we have a Los Altos High School map, I can't remember. But the middle schools and the schools over there, every street's a safe route. Which street are the kids on, right? And so for some of the schools, it's better than others. I know in the south, the maps are a little better because parents sat down with Jaime in a pretty good sized group and said, this street, not this street, this street, not this street. But for a lot of schools, that wasn't done. So we don't, in those maps, for some of the schools, we don't actually have the route. Like when Jill comes to our meeting, she's like, oh, the kids go this street, this street, this street, this street, this street, oh, they're at school, right? That's not on the map.
But isn't the goal of creating those safe routes and with the wayfinder to direct students to those streets? I think that's the goal.
So I think the question I have is, do the students need that? We just had 2 students here and I asked, what's your plan? You know, do you have your route mapped out for middle school, right?
That's a very good question. That's a question we should answer, try to get this item. If that's not, then maybe we don't work on it this year.
Yeah.
Or we work on the bigger wayfinding.
Yeah, I mean,
I
we
think
can debate
that's,
this.
I think that's the crux of the problem. The next step, right?
I propose, I mean, as I would propose with each one of these 14 projects is that if discussing it here would be quite difficult, breaking it up into smaller work groups is probably very essential to an extent. Some of these require all of us like and be involved, like the first one we're talking about. So for this particular one, I would volunteer myself and ask someone else to join me.
I'd love to work on
To
that.
parse it out.
So
come
yeah,
back.
you can do a working pair.
Yeah.
Working pair, I think that's the term I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
think
staff-
otherwise
and
we'll be stuck.
And this is on our work plan, so is staff good with that? That these guys are gonna go start working on this, and
Yeah,
are
you're
they're,
right. You can do
you're
it.
right. Yeah, but are you
We're
gonna
not committing-
support them? Are we gonna put
If
signs up?
if
Is
there are
there
questions,
budget?
that we could help them support, if they have questions, and stuff like that, but. Then, yeah, come to
I
us.
think we're jumping the gun here. I think your proposal was just to review this item and come back to the commission, not actually work on
The
that.
item itself, by the way, if I could just say, is explore the value,
Yeah, right.
which to me implies we may find in our exploration that there isn't significant value.
That's right.
And so I don't think in any way, like Scott and I are to go off and have a look into this. But we're gonna come back and have a really hard budget ask for the city, I don't think that's. the
No, we're,
intent.
yeah, we're jumping the gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So. I think-
Just a thought, and that's that before we start thinking about, do we assign a working pair to do something before we've gone through the list? Seems like we need to go through the list and then prioritize.
No, we can assign a working, two people can, we don't even have to assign a working pair, two people can just be a working pair.
We can just go. on.
They can go on their own.
But Steve, you have a good point around, we are gonna go through another 10 things here plus, and so we should make sure we've got
And
enough.
for,
gas in
and
the
for the
tank
work-
to-
and for the
work.
working pair.
Yeah.
I would say before you even get started, there's absolutely value in this. And let's get something done.
Yeah.
Versus just explore, and we now have to find out how to do it, and then the other advice that we have for you is Palo Alto has a plan for doing this, Cupertino has stuff in place.
Yeah.
Just go look at what the other cities have done and
Yeah.
let's get something done.
That's-
And I think staff will have to help as well,
Let's just do.
but
let's
it
just
is
do-
our approved work plan, so.
Yeah, agreed. And I think exactly what you just said, Stacy, is why I think there is value in going through the items as a commission, and then we can break off our pairs with a little bit of direction towards what we think is useful or valuable, so, appreciate that. Okay. Let's talk the next item. So we got to number 2 here, that's great. Downtown safety improvements, which I think we touched on a little bit, there's ongoing work, there's ongoing conversations with the downtown coalition. So appreciate that. The first specific item we have on here is review traffic calming measures and speed limit mechanisms. So I know there are a few different things baked in each of those. It's not clear to me, maybe we can refresh our memory a little bit. If there's anything concrete happening on traffic calming measures downtown, is that part of any of the downtown work that you're talking about, Stephen? Or would that be separate from what's being planned right now?
Well, what's being planned right now is to enhance our visibility to the downtown.
Yeah,
area.
like the daylighting and,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
by doing that, it's bringing visibility, we're bringing more safety features.
Yeah.
We're putting more signs out there to basically tell people, hey, slow down,
Yeah.
do these stuff. One of the things that is, I've kind of noticed is people are speeding down there, but they're also, the lines are not there. So they're not really being guided on where they need to be going.
Yep.
So once all that is implemented, yes, I will reevaluate to see if there's any other stuff that needs to be done.
Okay.
But we need to go ahead and make these safety improvements first
Yeah.
to see what else we need to do.
and apologies, was this part of the last meeting agenda, the April 10th that come up?
The safety,
Anything about the downtown work?
well, the work, we did talk about it in the plans, and one of the things that the commissioner basically said is make sure we go back to the downtown coalition and talk to them and see if they have a problem with what is being proposed.
Okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think there were a couple of comments was made last time with the commission, and Steve, give me you can provide an update or not, but was to review, one of the things that was proposed last year was review if you want to, convert some of the streets to one ways or look at the whole flow. Was that,
Before we go down there, we have to change our general master plan, our general plan for the city. So
that's a longer term project?
that the general plan for the city and the circulation element has to be revised before we go down that road. So since we're trying to improve safety,
Okay.
I'm trying to implement the safety first. And if we need to go ahead and down that road of making downtown to one way, that is part of the general plan that needs to be addressed.
All right, and that would be happening, that's a separate work item.
That's like the whole separate.
Sorry, can I just ask a clarifying question? So the downtown one-way study that's in our Complete Streets Master Plan is one of the 2 studies that was listed in the approved Complete Streets Master Plan to do. Did I just hear you say we can't do that study until the general plan circulation element is updated?
Correct.
So
No.
when you say that you're gonna update the circulation element, then you're gonna change the purpose of that study was to explore if we it would be valuable to change the circulation downtown into one-way street, let me finish. But if you change it in the general plan, that you're changing the circulation, feels like the cart before the horse. If you change the circulation before you've done the study.
The
to
whole,
see if you
the
want-
whole purpose of the general plan for the city is a master plan of where the direction the city is gonna go. As part of the general plan, there is a traffic element. As part of the traffic element, you're gonna be doing extensive study as well as public outreach, not only to business, but to the community. So there are a lot of things that need to be done before our study can even be engaged. Because the general plan basically shows at this point in time, this is a two-way road. We cannot automatically say, just because we as commission, so we want one way, that we can implement. The city council has to weigh in, the community has to weigh in, everything has to weigh in. So as part of the general plan, all that is being.
I think we understand that. I think the question is, do you have to start all the way from the top before you can trickle down to the front? Or you can say, no, let me do this downtown study and see how it affects the master plan.
The general plan addresses everything that you guys would like to see. So that has to start first, because you cannot implement.
Not implement, just can we do a downtown study and then see,
Yeah.
if we even want to go down the route, we don't even
Yeah,
know
the
we
complete.
want to go
streets-
down that route, right?
But again, the general plan, we have to follow the general plan.
I
But
don't
doing a
think
study doesn't
general-
change the general
exact-
plan, it doesn't contradict.
It doesn't prohibit us.
Yeah.
But the general plan will be doing that study that you guys are asking for.
So is there a plan to do a new general plan? Is that what you're saying?
We are already working on a general plan.
Okay, so,
So
and
if you look at the budget, the planning department does have money to do a general plan amendment that we are required by law to do.
when was the last one done?
Long time.
It was a while ago.
Okay, and then, so that'd be good. I think that's something we should probably bring it back to the commission and give us an update on what's the plan, what's happening with the general plan. So I think it'd be good for the commission to know. So we can then, because there may be a few things that fit into that, if that's what we're
Yeah,
doing that.
I'm just. Yeah, I'm still just a little lost, and the Complete Streets Master Plan recommends, and it was approved by council for a study for the downtown circulation element. And I'm concerned that the general plan doesn't take a long time to update. That I don't see why we couldn't start with that study. We're not changing any infrastructure, it's just a study. I don't know why we couldn't start with that study.
Because the general plan will be doing the same study.
So it'll be duplicative, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but but it wouldn't duplicate it if we did it first. It's like, here it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
Which department works on the general plan?
But
And is the planning commission discussing this at this time? Are they-
we're just now starting the process.
So the development department, DSP, they'll be doing the general plan amendment. And under that general plan, there's several elements, as you know, the housing element, safety element, and circulation is part of that. So we cannot get ahead, you know, in the purview of the commission, you know, is to prioritize across the school, but it's not the purview, so that goes to planning. We definitely can bring some updates to where we are on that circulation safety element at the time. But we cannot proceed with, you know, we cannot do that.
Christie, I have a quick question. Should the commission then put this on our calendar so we are prepared in case, I mean, I'm assuming the circulation plan will come in front of the commission, the streets commission.
ask it as a question, Raj.
Yeah,
Is
so
that
will,
your
will the, okay, will the circulation element be brought in front of the commission, so the complete streets commission for us to review and comment on?
Honestly, I do not know the protocols and procedures on that,
Okay,
but I do know that as part of the general plan, there is extensive public outreach. There's a lot of public engagement as part of the circulation study.
so it would be good if you could clarify that and, you know, I think it'll be very important for the complete streets commission to look at the circulation plan or whatever the proposal is. So my request would be to bring that in front of the commission.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but I also have a question while you're both here, which is that is there a risk that when the general plan is done, that the study of a one-way system doesn't make it into the general plan. And if that's the case, is that the kind of thing that something from this commission, if we believed it were a priority, would actually then potentially get that study into the general plan?
The purpose of the general plan is not just to look at one element of the whole city. The general plan is to look at the overall.
No, I understand that.
So the whole reason why I'm saying the downtown circulation has to be done as part of the general plan is the general plan has to look at
Yeah.
how does that circulation work with respect to the rest of the city? So for us to try to do that one little item in isolation of the overall city would be kind of premature.
So we should just assume that would be in the general plan.
Correct.
I have a question. So I understand that entirely about the general plans. I think when general plan changes were made in the past, when they were in a specific area, like say transportation or something, like, can you talk about, because you're saying planning is doing the general plan, can you talk about the role of the transportation team and the Complete Streets Commission with respect to the general plan update?
When the general plan does come out with the transportation portion, we do get to look at it. We do provide feedback. Just like we've done, we are involved with the safety element. We provide feedback on the transportation component of the safety plan. So it is not just an isolation of anybody. It is, the first is we get the first blush of what is the study stating? What is it saying? Does it make sense? Once that has been reviewed, finally look at those items, they incorporate it and see how it could be incorporated into the general plan before it goes out to the general public for comments. Now, the general plan is, the general rule from the general plan of journals is the fact that first it has to be prepared, it has to be vetted for not just the code and the compliance, but also the vetting of the public comment. It cannot be adopted in the absence of the public comment. So there is several iterations that goes on as part of the general plan. So again, for us to go ahead and say, we're trying to do this one little element, we're getting ahead of the general plan.
I hear you. To clarify, because my question was, what's the role of the transportation team and what's the role of the commission with respect to the general plan update? When you use the word "we," are you referring to transportation and commission, or is there?
Again, as I stated, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We have to understand the process that we have to follow as part of the guidelines from the state when preparing the general plan.
Totally understand
So,
that.
with that in mind, we as staff will be taking the first blush to see, does this technically make sense? Then, if the commission would like, I will bring it before the commission for comments. But keep in mind also, this general plan will go out to the general public and be published in the general public for comment.
We understand.
Let's look into it, Stephen, about, because, there's a specific process on that. And like you mentioned, there's opportunity for public comments. So, and then the purview of the commission specific to prioritizing safe routes to school and comment, but anyone is, welcome to the public meetings and you have an opportunity to make comments.
Thank you. So that's the ask is,
Yeah.
let's get it calendared on an agenda item for when the general plan update process can come to the commission.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it just comes once or if it needs to come a couple
Yeah,
times.
that makes sense. Does that make sense, Stephen? Like, the only outstanding question in my mind is, when is that timely? Like, when is there a substantive update about maybe that part of the city, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that question.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of generally what the schedule looks like for the
No.
general plan development?
Generally, when you start doing the general plan, it's multi-year.
Yeah, that's why it was.
Yeah, and I just wanted, that's why.
If there's a way to start with this study before that, because I
Yeah.
knew that was gonna take a really long time, but the answer is no.
Okay.
I mean, I would maybe side, with Stephen on this and say, I think it's premature to do a study now, given the rezoning that's happening in parking lots, the mixed use of housing development. So we
Yeah,
can study the state.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
we all got it.
So I would say, wait.
Okay, cool, all right. Thanks, everybody. for the conversation.
We'll see what the downtown team tells staff about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask this one? When you say multi-year? Is it 2, is it 5?
Last time I did the general plan, it took about 3 years.
Can I
Because
ask
there's
another
so many
question?
components, there's a lot of public outreach from this now.
Is it tied to like the housing element cycle at all, or is it totally separate and on a different track, like? 'cause I know
I'm
we've
not
had-
100% positive,
Yeah.
but there is a housing element involved in the general plan.
Right, yeah, that's why I was curious, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, okay. All right, we'll see how many of us are still here, when that comes up. All right. All right. I know, it's a fan, it's a fan, yeah. All right, okay, so,
Can I?
yeah, please.
I'll go on to the next item.
We can, yeah, I was just looking at to see if there was any remnant
So-
of downtown safety, which is an item on our list.
Yeah.
Right,
So
like,
I was gonna say, before you move past 2A, I think what I'm hearing is, unless I misheard, nothing's gonna be done there this year.
I don't think that's right, I don't think that's right.
Okay, so then what's gonna be done there this year?
Yeah, I think we were hearing that, it doesn't sound like it's feasible for us to do anything on changing to one way,
Yes,
but that isn't saying that nothing's happening. on
okay,
this
so
element.
what's happening?
I think, well, Stephen already spoke about, sort of bringing proposed changes to the downtown coalition, right? So I think,
But that's the resurfacing, street resurfacing.
right, but I think there's safety elements with that.
Yeah, that's street resurfacing.
Signage.
They're also doing daylight. They're also doing
That's,
sign-
that's street resurfacing.
Okay.
Is there anything beyond street resurfacing?
At this point in time,
Mark, you want to make a comment? I'll let you know.
I mean, I know that you were all talking about speed previously. I don't know if that's being looked at in downtown.
Yeah, I think the commission made a bunch of comments. There was comments made at the last meeting. And I think you have the from the.
Right.
But I guess we'll see that whatever is being proposed, design and changes when we see it next time.
When that comes back, okay. All right,
So any speed limit mechanism, just for clarity, any speed limit mechanisms you would say would be part of, if there's gonna be any, they'll be part of the resurfacing project proposal.
I will show it on the plans.
thank you. Okay. Moving on to B. Review bike parking locations, supporting additional bicycle sites. And I think, Steve, I've heard you speak to this a couple times as something that is an interest, and is worthwhile downtown. Is there any effort, specifically on working on adding bike parking, downtown at the moment?
Right now, we have identified location where the bike rack is gonna be, as well as the e-bike racks.
Mhm.
So that will be part of. It's gonna start out of 2 projects.
Yeah.
One is gonna be the annual streets project, and then the other one would be part of the parking lot 4, 5, and 6 reconstruction.
Awesome. Okay,
Just to follow on that, will the commission get to review those at some point, whatever the review plan is, or is it already in motion?
We have identified 2 locations. One for regular bike parking and where the e-bike's gonna be going, just because of the availability of electricity and so on. So, if the commission would like me to talk about that.
Yeah, just to, I think it's a way for at least getting the word out, so people watch the commission meetings or
Yeah.
whatever, or put it on the agenda, it's there.
that would be great. Yeah. And so, just another clarification, Steve. Sounds like there's some work that's gonna happen as part of the resurfacing, and then separately, there's work that's gonna happen in connection with the redevelopment of the lots 4 through 6.
Right.
Yeah. Would you plan to sort of give us an update together, as part of the downtown work, or, is that something that's sort of going on a separate track?
There are separate tracks,
Yeah,
in the fact that, most likely the parking lot 4, 5, and 6 will be pushed into spring,
Mhm.
and we are just now talking to the consultant about how we're gonna go ahead and identify or locate the bicycle racks for the electric e-bikes.
Yeah.
It has already been identified.
Yeah.
We're putting it close to the entrance from, Maine and San Antonio as possible. So we have already identified that location. We have a location for the bike rack, but it's still in a little bit of a flux.
Okay, all right, thank you. When you say push into the spring, do you mean push into the summer? Or,
We're trying to get the construction started in the spring, because we do not want, one of the reasons why it's being delayed is this, because we have, Art and Wine that's coming up in July.
Yep.
We're trying not to impact, the farmer's market,
sure,
so that's kind of pushing our project back there.
oh, I see, yeah.
I think given that this is on the commission work plan and council's approved this plan, then I think the intention is the item should come to us to take our input before it's finalized.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. It sounds like we can do that. Although it sounds like if the work's gonna happen like that soon, meaning like what, in the next month? Okay, all right.
Which one?
No, spring of 2026.
Oh, okay, so 1 year from now.
Yes.
Got it, okay, okay.
Yeah, we're trying not to impact those two main impacts.
The farmer's market and, hard one, yeah, okay, got it, understood. Okay, so then it sounds like for that one, we may see work on the street resurfacing, but not on the parking lots, is that, do I have that right? Okay, all right,
but I think just advice for you, Chair, is if they're planning to construct that in spring 2026,
Yes.
it means it should be on the commission's agenda this calendar year. So we have opportunity to give advice before they send it out to bid.
absolutely, that's it, yeah, great point, so the opportunity for us to contribute this year is on where that is happening, what it looks like. Yeah, that would be awesome to see, Stephen, if you guys can bring that to us. I guess,
What's the project called?
Reconstruction of downtown parking lot 4, 5, and 6.
Great, so we'll just plan to see that when it's ready, sort of shortly this year. And that would be great for us to be able to give some input on that.
That's also the planning department. The planning commission, it's planning the work item for planning commission.
For the downtown 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
It's strictly a maintenance project.
Maintenance project. Okay.
And you were mentioning Maine and San Antonio. Two separate, or where those streets intersect downtown,
Or which one?
for bike parking or bike rack?
The regular center bike rack will probably be on Main Street. The e-bike rack is probably gonna be on parking lot 6, because we have to have electricity cost line.
Okay, awesome, very cool, thank you, thanks for moving that forward. Okay, that's 2. 3 is multimodal transportation safety, high level, and the first one was fleet e-bike ordinance. That you guys have continued to make progress on. Are we done with that?
The ordinance, well, the staff report on the ordinance is written. We're going back and forth between PD and, between PD and us to refine the language.
Okay.
And we're also working with the city attorney's office to see what is applicable and, how we can navigate the state law.
Okay. Great. Let us know if there's anything else we need to contribute. I think we talked most recently about the footprint, the specific footprint. You've already brought the policy to the city council. Yeah, I suppose, I mean, are you seeing now, or do you expect like material major changes to policy, or is it mainly just making sure that there's no laws that kind of would compromise the ability of the policy?
Like I said, we're going back and forth with the police department
Yep.
and the city attorney's office.
Okay. I think if other folks have comments, feel free.
I think the question is, what's the next step?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, does it come back to us? I forgot. Does it go to city council?
Go straight to the council.
Okay, so we're done with our work on that.
Is there any readings happened already on the ordinance? No readings, yeah.
No reasons.
Great. So we'll say, as a commission, I think we've done our part there, unless you tell us, Stephen, that it's dramatically changed and we need more input on it. we'll trust you guys to bring that one
No,
forward.
it's, at this point in time, it's just working, how does
And-
law?
Yeah,
And then just a comment for the chair, this is an opportunity to watch the city council agenda.
absolutely.
And, you know, yourself or vice chair or designee can be there to represent the commission and speak for the commission and the feedback that we gave.
Yeah. That's a great point.
So are you saying that this complete bike ordinance, we're done with that, so you can change the in progress? That was the-
The ordinance is not done, but.
Yeah.
I think the commission's work at this point.
We've done our contribution. I would like to see it get finalized and put in place, or at least like.
Is
have
that
it
in progress or the status? Is that
It's still
ours
in
or-
progress because the ordinance is not
So it's
done.
not our report, it's that report,
Those councils will do this.
it's council report, right, okay.
Yeah.
Unless the council can decide to kick it back to us.
Well,
Yeah,
right, but I was just thinking that there's almost two statuses, there's ours versus city council.
That's right.
Yeah, but our goal is to have the ordinance complete and it's not complete till council approves it. You can't say we did it until it's actually done.
I'm waiting for that.
It cannot be on the calendar, but yeah.
Yes. Maybe think about it this way. There's no additional work at the moment that is required of us until we hear otherwise. And we will continue to track it and just make sure that it obviously gets completed, but, that's great. Okay, thanks. Okay, San Antonio Road improvements. Oh, that's a good one. Have we heard anything new about the status of that? How's it
We're taking
going?
that one very cautiously
Yeah.
because, of what's going on at Washington.
Yeah, of course.
We're concerned that the money may be pulled.
Yeah.
The last, that last email I received from the federal government is the fact that the feds are currently reevaluating all projects.
Yeah.
So that was as of last month. I have not heard back from them on whether this project is dropping.
So what instruction has MTC given the local agencies who've received OBEG grants? That they should proceed with these projects or that they should hold?
We haven't received in one direction.
So maybe we should get some clarity from MTC because that federal dollars, those OBEG federal dollars flow from the federal government to the state government to MTC, which is our regional transportation agency, and MTC then hands them out to the local agencies. So maybe we should get some more clarity of instructions.
From MTC.
I mean, it goes through BTA. For our county, it goes BTA, MTC, but MTC was like they were the people who selected the recipients for that grant.
Yeah.
From federal dollars.
Right.
But I think the question is, given that MTC is the agency that selected us, is our agreement with MTC?
Yes, through the agencies.
So I think it'd be valuable to check in with MTC to see what direction they have for us, because
Absolutely.
Because there is a time window by which
Absolutely.
we do nothing, we lose that funding.
Well,
So if we're just waiting around for Washington, we're surely gonna lose that funding,
well,
because it's like I think a
Yes,
3-year,
we-
5-year thing.
Can we ask a question? Yeah.
We are not totally not working on it. We're thinking very cautiously and still working through the process. We're just not in a rush to get it done, but we are getting it done.
So when can we get an update on this project? The
Um,
commission.
Well, at this point in time, I just received concurrence from the air quality, Bay Area Air Quality Management District saying that this project will not have an impact on PM 2.5.
Right.
That was one of the requirements as part of.
Environmental clearance.
Yes,
Yeah.
so we just received that this morning, actually, this afternoon.
Takes a while.
So now we have one hurdle that we have to cross, and now we gotta go through the other hurdle, which is the final paperwork that we need to submit. As part of with this, concurrence.
So when can the commission hear this item?
At what point would the commission like to hear about this?
No, I think the question is, when do you have something to bring to us?
It's gonna be a little while. Because once the money becomes available and authorized, it takes me about 3 months to hire a consultant to get the process started.
So I thought that the money was authorized for us, or you're now saying once the environmental clearance paperwork gets done?
The way the federal government utilizes the money is this. For us to spend any money on the project is non-reversible. So first thing we have to do is get authorization from the federal government saying that we have authorization to start spending the money. Any money that is spent prior to that is all in the city. So once we get that authorization, now we can start really working on the project of hiring consultants and so on. So the question you're asking, when's the commission gonna be able to start discussing this project? It won't be for a little while because once we have all the paperwork submitted, it takes them at least up to 2 to 3 months to hear back on whether we have authorization to proceed to the next phase. So until we receive that, I cannot give you a timeline.
Got it. So just to clarify the current status is you've received the environmental clearance. So now you're submitting a package of paperwork with the environmental clearance to the federal government through MTC to get release of the funds so you can move to the next step. And you're expecting that historically, that's taken 2 to 3 months. Is that correct?
Your the email that we received from the Air Quality Control Board is not an environmental clearance. It's a part of the request to start the design process. And that's where we're at right now, is the requested design process. So they have requested a series of backup documents that we are working on, that we just received the last bit of information. Now we could finish our other documents that we have received, package it and submit it to Caltrans for MTC for authorization to proceed to the design phase.
Okay, so once you submit that packet of information, which you were waiting for this document you just received this morning, once that packet of information gets submitted, historically, typically, it takes the federal government 2 to 3 months
Correct.
to authorize you to release the funding for the next step, or just?
There's
to
no
release the
funding involved. We are floating the federal government.
We pay.
Yeah, we pay up front, then we bill the federal government.
Yeah.
Then they pay us
But-
within 2 months.
So maybe the way to rephrase Stacy's question is like, is there a point at which you get sort of final authorization from the federal government
2 to 3 months.
spend the funds, and we will be reimbursed?
Right.
Yeah, okay,
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get them to authorize us to start spending our money
right.
with the guarantee that they're gonna reimburse us.
Yeah,
back.
yeah, got it. I mean, that's a devil in the details. The
Yeah,
devil didn't
fair,
need to
fair,
be there.
yeah.
But I think the question's a little different, is because you just got this thing this morning, that was the last holdup in getting this submitted. So if the government was operating like it typically is, it's about 2 or 3 months where you expect to receive this agreement that you just talked about, is that right?
Correct.
And then once you get that agreement, so then you submit this packet to them for the next 2 or 3 months, we're just gonna be on hold, is that right?
Correct.
And so we do nothing, or that's the intent, your intention, right? And then at the end of that 2 or 3 months, if you get the authorization, then you're gonna take it to the next step.
Which is to start hiring and start the design phase, which is we have to hire a consultant. That's another 2 to 3 months, because he has to go before council for award. Once that's done, then we can start engaging the consultants to start doing preliminary layouts. So look at what are the constraints that we need to follow. So there's a series of events that needs to happen on a federal project. If we do not follow those requirements, then we lose all funding.
Yeah. So,
So
got it.
basically, from a timing perspective, it seems like we're not gonna hear anything about it until Q3.
If we're lucky.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to get to, is when do we expect this, right? And then it's for the chair and the vice chair in their monthly meeting with staff to stay on top of where's this at, are we on schedule for that? To have it back on our agenda, right? And then the other thing now, Stephen, based upon what you said, I have another question. You're hiring a consultant to start preliminary designs? Or are we gonna start with a community meeting to get the community's input?
We need to start doing some preliminary stuff. We will be asking the public for their comment. But before we could even do that, we need to find out what are the constraints that we have to work.
But definitely the constraints. When I heard the word design, I was like, I just sort of immediately should have a community input session.
But the community input won't happen until you hire this consultant.
Correct.
The first, from our process is the first step of the consultant is before they even put any pen, the paper community input.
We are gonna have some preliminaries, yes. But my schedule right now is between the community input and the design, layout and so on, it's probably gonna be about a year process. Just
A year.
A year process, because we have to go back and forth on, as commission requested, go back to the public, keep asking.
Okay.
So 2 to 3 months in a typical world of federal government authorization of this packet you're soon gonna submit. 2 to 3 months to hire a consultant. And then the consultant starts the process. And maybe a few months after they start the process, then we'll start seeing something surface in the public. And then it'll take
Yeah,
a
I do
total,
hope, yes.
the consultant will approximately be working on it for a year. Okay, thank you. This is helpful for us
Yeah.
to
Very helpful, yeah.
That's
understand what's coming. Yeah.
quick question. Will the agency that will be doing the public outreach, the same agency that will be doing the design as well? Or you're expecting to do?
It's gonna depend on how the consultants submit the proposal. Like I said, I've already budgeted about a whole year worth of public outreach. So that we'll make sure that we get a full, we capture all the comments from the general public.
And this schedule keeps us on track with what's required to get the funding, because there were also, okay, good. Because I know people have lost OBEG money, including, I think, our city one year, but we're not the only one.
Yeah.
Because they didn't,
Let's just not lose it because we hear from the federal government, later or in a different way than we expected. And then we don't have time to respond.
Yeah, just to follow on to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Are there other projects in the city is worried about losing?
No, this is only for the funding of the project.
Okay, good enough. Okay, I think we are aligned on that one. I think what we're gonna have happen is you guys are on track to do the submission now that you have the PM 2.5. And you'll come back to us when it is timely, when there's anything, relevant to share. Including, I think, from my perspective, I'd be interested to share if we hear anything, positive or negative about, the availability of the grant from the federal government. So, yeah, if you guys learn anything, would love to know more. Okay, great, thank you. Going on to the next one, we've got create partnerships with neighboring agencies, county and cities, benchmark, coordinate, and fix public safety gaps based on city boundaries, jurisdiction. That's ongoing. We're doing it all together. And
Check.
yeah, sorry.
I think that may require some time. Can I make a proposal that we maybe put that off discussion for the next meeting?
This one?
Yeah, I think this is because I think we might spend, there are a couple other items we'd like to get today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being too late, maybe we can. table
yeah.
that.
So I think what Suresh is asking is, can we agendaize this one for next?
For next time? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna make a note of agenda items.
The rules for what plan anyway, so.
Yeah, but let's specifically.
If
this
you
one.
want to specifically
Yeah,
for that,
I do. I think it's helpful. I think it's helpful just to even organize.
Or I
some-
could do
Yeah.
work plan and then put a subset where I.
Yeah, that would totally work. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay, and then, citywide radar survey. Do we have anything on that?
No, it's just.
So I think the question is, when will we have something on that?
Yeah.
When can we expect that to come to our agenda?
I cannot give you a timeline.
Is it ongoing still? Because it was something I know you guys were looking into. Is it now, it's just on hold for any reason or? what's going on?
We have certain things that we need to get accomplished first. We just don't have enough staffing.
Got it. So it's essentially, it's just deprioritized, like you guys have other more timely stuff that you're working on. Is that fair to say? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I think that's fine.
So let's modify at least the anticipated completion date.
Yeah, it's
Q1
not gonna be
2025
yeah.
to Q3.
Yeah.
Let's modify that piece so we can follow it accordingly.
Well,
I would say TBD at this.
yeah,
TBD.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't start throwing stuff out there.
Yeah, totally.
This was also this was also the approved work
Yeah.
plan, so we also have to keep this as the original, and so if you're
We
making
can make it
modifications,
version.
you need a separate column or something up like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Have you
Oh, yeah, you can put it. in-
maybe lean on, folks who've been here for past cycles? Is there sort of like an ordinary or accepted or typical way to?
I don't know,
make
add
those
another column.
to the, to the work plan? Like, right now, we know that this is gonna slip past Q1, we're in Q2. So, you know,
Maybe you can put a column in the end. so
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
It's a status, we can do a status.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, add a column to the
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
and just say,
And you
you
can
know,
do that. and just
TBD,
set that.
yeah, change priority,
Yeah.
yeah, which I think is fine.
But when you write it, Wes, just be clear on that it's not the commission change the priority.
Okay. Yeah.
Staff priority or staff resources, whatever.
That's fine. Okay, great. So then, number 4, on second to last, road maintenance and improvements for public safety and implement safe routes to school where possible.
That's what's happening now. It's not the
Yes,
same.
exactly. We're doing this. Yeah.
Isn't that May 14th? Update on that?
Yes, I believe so.
Potential.
Potential update on May 14th or a date to be decided. Yes, implement the 2025 project list and review and update the long-term CIP project list. Since I think the first one is just happening, maybe we can focus on the second one. I would like to make sure that over the course of this year, as soon as we realistically can, we start thinking about, yes, reviewing and updating long-term CIP project list in part so we don't find ourselves next year in the position that we find ourselves in today.
Yeah, I think Steve already gave an update,
Yeah.
and they already started to work on
Yep,
it.
they're doing it.
Work on the next, this one, and I
Yeah.
think maybe in Q2, we're in Q2 now, but some point when we feel comfortable, we can start to look at the list for next year.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I think you just work with staff during our meetings to see what month is best for us to bring it back. It's just make sure that there's enough time to the end of this year for us to review everything.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I would just say, I remember the year Jaime did Almond Avenue and Covington, like, he was having community meetings in September.
Mhm.
So which means that needs to come to us before.
For work for the upcoming year.
Yeah, to get the
Yeah.
proper community feedback. So we don't do what's happened this year.
Yeah, and I think the good news is, I mean, I think we already have like a draft list of
We have a
those
list.
streets, right? That's,
Yeah,
those
which is
will be,
good.
thankfully, we did the work
So then,
last
so
year.
then,
Yeah.
Wes, maybe the agenda item is, let's talk about the process and the timeline.
Absolutely,
So
yeah,
that agenda item should come, I don't know, August, September.
yeah.
Like, what's the process or timeline for the
When
next
is,
year?
when is the summer break? Or how, is it June or July?
July.
July. Okay, in August is probably, we should bring it back.
Yeah.
So put that on the agenda for August.
Art, it's easy for us to add an agenda item for an outline on, the next
Steve,
month. Oh, sorry, Steve.
If I may,
Go ahead.
we push that to September. The
I
reason
think,
why,
yeah, but I think it'd be good because for August, we may at least want to assign our subcommittee and so on.
Yeah.
So we don't wait till September.
yeah,
So
because I
let's
don't
put it-
know, how far I'm gonna be, because
That's a, yeah,
we still have to wait for July 1st to kick in before we can
but I
execute.
think it'll be good for the commission to start think about it
Yeah.
and see who's
It can be,
available.
a combined, item. It can be something where the commission just discusses it and the city can come with what you have, you know, at that time, or don't have. Okay. We can do that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hear that item multiple times.
Yeah, exactly. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
one and done on that for sure. Just, it's kind of, yeah, sorry. Okay, then moving to number 5, CSC strategic plans. Identify gaps and priorities with respect to safe routes to school and complete street master plan items, past budgets.
I think these are all good items. I don't know how much time you want to spend on each one of these.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think,
I don't think these are, I don't think if we don't talk this in the next month, I don't think any of this is gonna be jeopardized, is my view. Suresh, I don't know if that's what you were saying as well.
I just, do we want to talk about all these, every one of these now, or do we?
Well, maybe if we say we wanna talk about them now, but we wanna get done quick, maybe we can.
Want to make a suggestion? So on in the August timeframe, instead of just, why don't we expand that to include the timeline for these CSC strategic plans?
Mhm.
So you do that at the same time in August.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
No, I think we need to talk about these things now, like roughly now.
Okay.
I don't think we need to go into every single detail.
Yeah.
So the first one, I have the following question.
Can we take a bio break 5 minutes?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that. If that's okay with Stacy. Yeah, I know you were gonna say something.
I like your question better.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
approve that.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna use the.
Okay, thanks.
He left.
And we're back. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, but it's just recording, so.
Yep,
We're
thank
good
you.
to go.
Okay, number 5, CSC strategic plans, and Stacy, well, I think maybe we all want to talk through each of these, but I think this is the one that at least has Q1 2025. The rest are sort of like closer to the end of the year. Maybe this is one that should be foregrounded, or front loaded a little bit. Identify gaps and priorities with respect to SRTS, CSMP items in past budgets. I know this was, one that we want to make sure we can take care of for sure. You had a comment before.
I think largely my comment is multifold. Number one, I think this one's gonna take a while to implement.
Okay.
Number two, this one would need, if things are identified and it's agreed with staff that we wanna move something forward, this would need to go into the budget approval process with council,
Yeah.
and that has its own schedule.
Yeah.
So staff can tell us when we have to have our work done to meet the budget approval cycle.
Yeah.
That's a question.
The budget is already ongoing, so it's being finalized right now. For the next fiscal year, council will be adopting in June.
So that's your deadline, Wes.
All right, okay, good to know.
So how do you want to accomplish something before then? So I guess the first question that I have is staff planning to bring, in past years, staff has brought to the commission proposals of projects they wanted to enter into the budget for transportation and taken the commission's feedback.
Yeah.
Is staff planning to bring that presentation to us this year?
Next year's budget, one thing that has been identified for working next year is the annual streets. We're not adding on new projects. We're trying to finalize what we have at this point in time.
So staff is proposing for next year's budget to only do street resurfacing.
Well, this part of the street resurfacing is we are incorporating all the bike and pedestrian elements, things that we could incorporate as
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
that project. We're
Yeah.
trying to put it in there.
Yeah.
But you're
we're
not doing any additional,
Not at this time, no.
the rest of you.
I think his answer is, I think, so my question is, I guess my only clarification is we have the 5-year list.
Mhm.
So would then we'll be choosing from that list, or is there some additions?
No, basically the item that has been on that list is what we're working on.
That list is live, that list has not changed.
Right now, we just got word that we're probably gonna be doing a reevaluation of all our pavement. So that may dictate to us with that, I may have to adjust priority on some of those roads. But for right now, and in the absence of that information.
Yeah.
I'm still proceeding with what the commission has approved for the CIP project.
So two follow-on questions. One is, I guess one is to Chair is, do we want to look at the complete streets master plan to see what, if there's something that we may want to propose as part of at least the resurface, if there's no other larger project. One. The second is, I guess, for starting the September cycle, if we want to start doing the outreach, are there streets that we may identify in that require significant community input? And those two, I think we need to make a decision on very quickly. Especially, yes, so you are already evaluating the complete streets elements that needs to go into any of the streets that we may have prioritized, right?
Correct, and we're actually even going beyond some of the stuff that is being identified in.
I see. Then
Additional safety element, or, yeah, okay.
additional safety element. So, and then, which means, the question I think to me is, do we need to review the complete streets master plan against this list? And identify any gaps that we may want to prioritize. I think we may still want to do that. Even if we don't get into this budget cycle, we may still want to do that.
Yeah, maybe that's still a worthwhile exercise.
Yes,
Regardless of time, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense to me.
because the exercise then would then be for the next year, right? That would impact your budgeting plans for the following year, right?
2027.
Well, what the budget is right now is a 25-26 budget,
Yeah.
so that's what.
Understood, that's what you're working on right now.
Correct.
But if the commission this calendar year works on this item, then the output of that
Could
could,
be the 26, 27.
you are willing to have that in the next years.
If it's beyond what I'm able to deliver in this coming fiscal year.
The ones you've already selected. Yeah, so then I agree with you. We should start work, like,
Okay,
so then the question is, how do we start work and when do we start work?
yeah. This is, maybe a good time to ask a question that I think came up via email, about whether we had closed out the subcommittee from prior.
Yeah, I think we should be very careful because that subcommittee is just a work plan subcommittee.
Yeah.
So I think, I was gonna propose that.
All I had to say was, let's actually terminate it
Yeah. I
and
agree.
create a new subcommittee, yeah, not repurpose the old one, yeah.
I agree.
So you're gonna disband
I thought so
that
too,
subcommittee?
but
Let's get to
there
that.
was some question about
I
it, yeah,
have to chair.
yeah,
You want to disband
I do.
that subcommittee, the
Yeah.
2025 work plan subcommittee?
yes.
Okay. Is that agreed on?
It has to be agendized.
Huh?
Yeah, it's-
Terminating it has to
No,
be agendized? No,
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
I don't think that's right,
They can just terminate it.
Yeah,
let's not. make
and the
that
chair can
rules.
decide.
Yeah,
I think the chair can unilaterally.
Because I believe it was agendized to create.
yeah, I
You
agree.
you have to
I agree.
agendize to create it,
Yeah,
but not.
that's correct, yeah, but not terminate, yeah. Okay, let's do it.
So I think next meeting, you may want to think about starting a subcommittee work. Such subcommittee can start by reviewing the complete streets master plan and then maybe follow on.
Yeah, that'd be great,
Yeah, with the CIP plan too,
yeah, that sounds great,
with next year's, whenever you're ready.
can we add that to the special meeting so that it comes up? No, okay, yeah, has to be regular, okay,
I don't think that I would do a special meeting.
okay,
No,
that's fine.
this meeting has to be this about.
Sounds good.
Plus, I think,
I mean, you can add it to a special meeting. I won't.
Okay, that's fine, we won't do it.
can you?
You could. You could.
You can, okay. The only thing is, if people are not going to be at the special meeting, I would rather have a full house before we form that subcommittee.
That's fine. Sounds good. Okay,
So if we have, wait a minute, if we have a special meeting on May 14th, will we have another meeting on the last Wednesday of the month?
Yes, that's gonna be the regular meeting.
So you can
Once
add
we
it to
decide
the,
this.
yeah,
Yes,
we can just add it to the regular meeting.
I think that's where we're landing, yeah.
Because you're probably expecting a lot of community involvement on the 14th.
Yeah, I hope so, let's get everybody here.
So is that one done now? And I have one more question. What did I hear you say, Stephen? That you might have to reevaluate the condition of,
We're required by, our funding agency to.
oh, the once every 2 years thing?
Every
Yeah.
2 years.
Okay.
And we are year 3, I believe, so
Yeah.
we're out of compliance.
Yeah, ooh. So my request would be, I don't know how long that takes, but at the end of that process, if you could just bring us put it on the agenda and bring us an update on the result of that. Thank you.
And apologies, I missed some of that, but is that talking about
The
updating to the pavement conditioning? Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Okay. Traffic calming plan, AB 43. Have we looked into this any further? We're saying that we want to evaluate how AB 43 can help Los Altos. Is there any work ongoing at the city
No,
on
just,
this right now?
When are you planning to start that work?
this discussion we have with people.
And is this connected to the radar? It's being deprioritized, okay, so then is it safe to say that this is also, I mean, because it would follow that, then it's also deprioritized? Is that right? Okay, all right. That sounds like you are having a conversation with PD,
We have it on a regular basis.
okay, all right,
Yeah, I think it's hard for us to deprioritize this because this has been such a big priority for the community, so as Wes's chair, I wouldn't deprioritize it as a commission. I think
Yeah.
staff has their own staffing issues.
Yeah.
that We can't control.
okay, all right.
How do you probably make some progress?
I don't have any proposal for how we make progress, because this really requires staff to kind of shape which way they're heading. I mean, the only thing the commission could do is we can go look at what some of the other jurisdictions
Yeah,
in the county have done.
Can I
But
make
that's just to educate ourselves, because staff,
can I make a quick, statement, the downtown's, committee, yes. Put out its white paper.
Oh, Safe Routes to Downtown.
Safe Routes to Downtown has put out a white paper on the E43. And I think, has the staff seen the white paper?
We've seen the white paper from the city attorney's office.
But there's a white paper that was put out by the Safe Routes to Downtown. They did a survey, and it's very good information compiled.
Look at that.
So maybe if you could circulate, or I can take that time to circulate it. I think I sent it to the commission before. I'm not sure if you've not seen it, but I'll redo it. I'll send it.
Send it out to us.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, so,
And please direct any questions to them if you have any questions, that we happy to answer.
yeah, that would be good to see. And yeah, I don't know other progress we can make besides looking at what other jurisdictions are
Teaching and
doing.
educating the commission educating ourselves.
Yeah, so we can take that action between now and next time we discuss. Work plan.
I mean, I've also asked the PTA, if they can like give some guidance for all the agencies in the county, but I haven't seen them picking up
Thanks
that
for-
torch either.
Yeah, thanks for pushing on that. Okay. Long-term and 2026 CSC work plan. I think we talked a little bit about that in the sense that a few of these higher up items are talking about how we begin the process of planning for upcoming years. Looking at gaps and priorities so we can build our plan. So I think we're talking that in a couple different ways. And yeah, it just remains the case that over the course of the rest of this year, we will be working on the 2026 CSC work plan and plan for outlying years as well. And I think the good thing is, like you mentioned, we have the street resurfacing plans and the prioritization for safe routes to school for the next few years already. So I think then part of the exercise becomes, what else do we need in order to feel like we're anticipating 2026 and further years? So I think some of the work that we've already discussed tonight, I think will contribute to that.
And I think maybe we can put that on the calendar for August, just
Yeah.
form a subcommittee
Yeah.
in August for the 2026 plan.
Okay, awesome. Great. All right, that's it. Thanks everybody for
Super.
working on the work plan. That was awesome.
So just to kind of summarize, Wes. What the notes that I took, and I might not have anything right, is we agendized 3 things with dates.
Mhm.
The 2025 project list for 514, which is a special meeting. The gaps requiring bids will be in whatever else is in the 530 meeting.
Mhm.
The timeline for the 2026 work plan and the CIP future project list will be in the August 30th meeting, or August meeting. And then there are 4 items that don't have dates that we said we should agendize, I think. Those were police department report on educational plans. The report, when Stephen's ready to give it to us, on the transportation elements in the general plan. The downtown bike parking, lot reconstruction, future striping, that information. And then, the partnership with sister agencies.
That was put on for the main agenda.
Yeah.
That's on the main agenda.
Yep. Got that. Awesome, thanks. Yeah, a few of those, Steve, I think, yeah, were for August or for
And then if
Later.
I left anything out,
later agendas.
Can I ask that you could send it to staff so they could BCC all of us?
Yep.
And then if there are any things, we can send it back to them. And it would be good if you could circulate this back to the commission.
Yep.
Before the next meeting.
And then I think this document will also help you, Wes and Scott, when you have the monthly meeting with staff, to keep going, okay, we planned for this, where's this at? Can we get this on?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes perfect sense.
Is there anything else we need to do that wasn't on here? Like.
Yep.
Is to just keep driving towards that, because I think the commission needs to not spend our meetings talking about the work plan for the rest of the year. and spend our meetings on like trying to accomplish some of these
Yeah.
things.
That sounds great. We can do that. Awesome. Thank you all. Okay, city updates. You have anything else? We talked through a lot.
I just wanted to say, there's the water main upgrade is happening downtown, it's starting Monday, I think, right? I just, there's gonna be a lot of traffic out there, so I think they're doing sections, but there's lane closures and.
They're gonna start doing it in lot 6, which is right there on Main State. They're gonna go ahead and start at State and start heading north towards Third Street on parking lot 6, which is one right behind Citibank. Once they get to lot 6 and 5, they come back and restore the road prior to them proceeding to lot 4, and then they're gonna go up to First. And then First, they're gonna come back to 7, 8, 9, and then go up Main Street to Third.
So, yeah, upgrade the waters.
Is that plan published somewhere?
What's that?
Is that plan published somewhere or scheduled?
It's not,
Yeah.
no, it's, the downtown has been notified, the whole division has been notified. The one other thing that the Cal Water is trying to do is they're trying to accommodate accommodate art and wine as well as, the farmer's market, so they're doing everything they can to not impact all these.
Which
major
should have been
events.
finished by Hard Wine Festival.
Hmm?
When did you say?
No, they're gonna be done. Right now, the art and wine is in July.
Right.
That's why they're coming back, as soon as they're done from 6 to 5, they're gonna come back, restore everything. So that it does not impact the art and wine.
When is it done, the project?
They are right now looking at being done about September, is what I'm thinking.
So it's a kind of continuous impact between now and then.
Yeah, we're gonna be continuous, having some issues with access. Between their project and ours, the downtown's gonna be impacted, but yeah, it has to be done.
Well,
Yeah.
it has to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the least of the updates.
Commissioner reports. Does anybody have anything you want to share? Casey, you want to go first?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Number one, I attended the city school issues subcommittee meeting with the city and the city council. Even with there. And the CUSD school board, the FUHSD school board. I think there's a lot of conversation around how to get funding for Homestead Road Safe Routes project. As well as some other things. And then I would just continue to footnote that for some reason, while it's a public meeting, there never seems to be any alerts about that meeting, so you have to know somebody to know to go. Next,
So there are two subcommittees, one with the CEO, with the,
I think there's three.
okay.
There's one with MVLA. There's one with LASD, I think.
I see.
And then- Yeah, so CUSD and FUHSD, we do it together. Yeah,
2 by 2 by 2.
yeah.
And which city council members are on the subcommittee?
For the, I think they have
They are
different,
separate, I see.
they have different people on each group.
Is it online? Should be online.
Should be online.
Shoot is the operative word. Oh, maybe the names of the people who are on the committee is online, but the meetings,
Are not noticed on the calendar?
there's no, yeah, no notice. No notice. Parents aren't getting notice from the school either, so at least the high school parents.
It's out of the city's calendar,
It wasn't on the city's
even
calendar.
though the city council can.
2 members of the city council are on school.
Typically, subcommittee meetings are not on the calendar.
No, right.
Yeah, but this one is a public one. So, and it involves parents and school communities, so people want to know and nobody knows. Okay. Next. item.
Can I ask a question? Were there any transportation related issues that came up in that meeting?
Oh, like, that's all it is, pretty
Okay.
much. Every time that group meets, it's 90% transportation issues. I'm gonna see if I have the agenda in my notebook. Yeah, Homestead corridor update, crossing guard update. Those were the two main items on the agenda. Otherwise, they just give general agency updates, but those were the two items on the agenda.
Okay.
Um, I think there was some discussion that came up on Grant Frontage Road by Lucky's and stuff. And by Trader Joe's, besides the homestead project. And crossing guards. That's what my notes say. The next thing I wanted to comment on is El Camino Real bike lane. So everyone should go up and down El Camino Real a little bit, and actually, when I was on El Camino Real the other day, I thought about the Springer plans. I forgot the intersection in El Camino Real, but there was one of those intersections where there was a right-hand turn. And they basically had green paint before the turn started, then it splashed green diagonal through the entire right-hand turn. And then it moved the bicyclist over to the straight ahead bike lane. So it was a way to do the right-hand turn, but also to have very visible bike lanes. If you want the intersection, let me know. I'll have to go look again.
You know, they're doing,
Yeah,
a lot of it.
yeah, a lot of the intersection.
What stretch of El Camino, if you remember, not like specific intersection, but like where,
I-
if you remember, yeah. Was it in Los Angeles?
I've been way down on by the Sunnyvale border. I've
Sure.
been way up here. I forgot where I
No
saw it.
worries.
It's,
They're doing the same
based on the
thing.
size is near 85.
Yeah.
Like near 85 is very
Yeah.
prominent.
Yeah, I think I saw it, you know.
They did the exact same thing by Whole Foods in Jordan as well. And, I think they're trying to cover every base.
Yeah, but the point is I thought about our Springer dilemma, so something to think about. And then the next thing I want to give the update on was the VTA BPAC. So there's a couple of things here. One, the VTA BPAC recommended the Stevens Creek Corridor Vision Study. And not to be confused with the Stevens Creek Trail, this is the Stevens Creek Boulevard Corridor Vision Study, where they want to make that a complete multimodal transportation corridor. So that's a study, and that's going to move on to the VTA board. Second, the VTA BPAC recommended the county's active transportation plan with several conditions and modifications, which staff largely accepted. And it moved on to the Board of Supervisors. They have a committee called QLIC, and then it'll go on to the Board of Supervisors for approval. So given the recommendations that were made from the BPAC and staff's embracement of them, I think that I expect that those will move forward. And this is the countywide plan, so I'm gonna speak countywide. So some examples of what were put in there is asking for an update to the expressway bicycle accommodation guidelines. And one of the purposes for that was then to make more temporary, to make improvements during striping and resurfacing. Rather than just wait for these long-term visionary studies, not only to be done, but to actually have construction funded. So that was one ask, and I think the ask of the VTA BPAC was that it's completed in the first quarter of next year, and staff said yes, as long as they can get funding for that. So that was one thing that will have a lot of impact. There were some other things. One of them was with respect to community meetings, is saying multiple community meetings with all the community members invited for each feasibility study that's done. So each feasibility study will have multiple community meetings. I think we changed the wording of these lane removals on El Camino Foothill Expressway, or not Foothill, sorry, shouldn't say that, on all expressways. To say that the plan said for slip lanes on expressways that it will consider removal, it was changed to prioritize removal.
So removal of slip lanes.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed removal, but the ATP said we will consider it, and the BPAC changed it to prioritize, the word consider to prioritize. there was one plan in the appendix, there was like 2003 or 2008 pedestrian plan that was talked about being sunsetted. And there was previous conversations where the staff had agreed not to sunset it, and that was still in there, so that got pulled out, so that won't be sunsetted. I don't know how relevant that is for Los Altos, but for some other jurisdictions, it's a big deal. That's kind of the big things that come to my mind. I think there was also discussion around intersection treatment. And then, oh, I know, there was one that someone put in there for having bike lane and sidewalks or pedestrian paths on both sides of each expressway throughout the county. That it was required, and that's the one where staff came back and said, well, we'll see if it's feasible, but everything else they accepted as the committee did. So that's some of the highlights. So I think that plan will be approved. And then I think the county is also depending on it there's a couple grants that they have for other projects in other places in the county that they're working on right now. And then the other thing they're starting, which I will recuse myself from, I think I'm required to recuse myself from, is when they do the Foothill Expressway feasibility study. And that thing is the first feasibility study that they're doing. So when we talk about other agencies, that can come out. So that's that. And then just quickly, a couple other things. There's a new ABC plan being worked on. ABC is the Across Barrier Connections Plan. The VTA is particularly focusing on where freeways intersect with local roads with respect to bicycles and pedestrians. So I don't know if they'll have it in there, but they should, like Magdalena 280 should be one that should be on there, and there's others. So that's a plan we'll have to watch. But they're just getting started with making the plan, and then they're working with, and we asked a lot of questions of them, like, is Caltrans on board with what you're doing, right? But so then they'll want to work with Caltrans to try to implement later. And then we got an update on Measure B. It was as 2 agenda items, but we got a bike ped update where they went through the education and encouragement, like what all with the Measure B money, what other jurisdictions are doing throughout the county, the highlights of that. Question.
I have a question. Stacey. Why do you have to recuse yourself from the Foothill Expressway feasibility study?
Well, I think I have to recuse myself because my residence is within the 500 feet.
So then I think you only have to recuse yourself for anything that has to do with something within the 500 feet.
Yeah, I'm in the 500 feet.
But Foothill covers a lot more ground.
He's saying it's on north.
Yeah, but the feasibility study runs from Cristo Rey Drive
Right.
to the I think it's the Menlo Park border.
I understand.
Because it includes Juniper Serra all the way up to, it's just
Same thing, yeah, even here. Same thing.
It is.
So right now, how much security show for the,
There be some, is there anything that is pertinent from the commission that needs to be expressed?
I think the commission, I think it's in, I have to be careful, I think, what I say. I think the commission heard the active transportation agenda item, and I think in the past, the commission has heard many county items, including with the green paint, before the green paint was put in here on Foothill and El Monte and San Antonio, and that project I could participate in because I'm not in the 500 feet. So it would be in the commission's interest, I think, to hear these relevant county items, even if I don't participate. And I can, like, yeah.
I think also if there are other organizations around town, we can provide input into that process.
Everybody should provide feedback into that process.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's that. process. Originally, I think they could only go from Homestead Road or something, but then the countywide trail team came. And for countywide trails, I got that segment because the countywide stuff comes over. It's a big deal for the people in the
Sure,
south. That little segment of Foothill from Crystal Ray Drive down to Homestead is a really serious segment. So I got that put in the county trails, and then they were able to carry that in, I think, into this plan when they did the borders of the Foothill feasibility study, but I can't participate in any of that. Because before they weren't allowed to do that because it wasn't part Measure B, you had to be on the Measure B project list, but the county trails master plan is in the project list, so that's good for the people in the south. That was now part of the county trails map. Yeah, I can't say anything about it. The next thing was Measure B for bike ped studies, and largely giving us an update that the studies that were funded already were like all moving along. But that study process is once every 2 years. So I think Jane said she's gonna start coming in the end of this calendar year to VTA BPAC. And we're gonna look at the selection criteria for the studies and maybe adjust the selection criteria, which is what we did 2 years ago. We'll do it again. And then there will be a call for grants for studies. So I don't know if the city wants to submit any studies. I think the master plan identified 2 things that we wanted to study, but that's a grant opportunity and it's not federal dollars, it's county money from Measure B.
And that, when is the application open to people for?
I don't know if they'll send out the call at the end of the year or early next year. I think that was
A follow-up question. Are only government agencies typically awarded those grants?
Yeah, the Measure B grant those are typically awarded to government agencies. I haven't seen it awarded to anyone else. There are a couple grants that BTA has that other agencies get awarded. I can probably talk to you.
Okay, separate.
Yeah, maybe you ping me on that because I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I don't know. I don't know if they're super relevant, that they may not be targeted to Los Altos. There's like some placemaking, they're more for dense housing.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of placemaking and events and other things. And some of that money went to agencies, but they specifically designated part of those pots to go to other groups, including nonprofits. So those might be a possibility, but we're typically not. The affluent communities are not typically high on the list. And those, I don't have a lot of say in the selection criteria. I think in the Measure B stuff, in the selection criteria, when they come, like I tried to shape that on the VTA BPAC. So for example, when the first planning studies came, the criteria was use MTC's equity priority communities. And then if you're in that, you essentially got a 15-point event. So then when we redid the scoring, it was like, wait a minute, there's a lot of other people in need. So then people could write a story to get points. So I think people were using schools and, you know, facilities with rehabilitation facilities, collision, like there was a lot of things coming into the story. And Mountain View did they actually had a lot of, in one of their applications, a lot of data about maybe census data about income and because they were no longer an equity priority community, but yet they were trying to tell that story. So try to shape and change some of those for Measure B. It's not always
When is
the
the
biggest.
cycle starting again? For the next cycle?
The study is every 2 years. So I think Jane said at the end of this year, we're gonna start looking at the criteria, the VTA BPAC will. I don't know if the call for grants will go out at the end of the year or the beginning of the year. And then the scoring committee typically meets for those in the spring. And the scoring committee of the studies is typically VTA, a couple members of VTA staff, a couple cities send staff people, and VTA BPAC sends a couple of people. And I've sat on this scoring committee a couple of times. It's insightful to actually see how an application is scored. Because it's like you get, if you have kids in elementary school, you know, it's all changed, the rubric. You know, this one, this one, this one, this one, this many points, this many points, this many points. And then you just take the application and you only can use the application. You cannot take, you can't look anything online. You can't go from your personal story. And then you just check. It's like grading a paper. It's just very, it really matters. And I've seen what other cities do to try to get higher points, which could benefit our city when they write grant applications, should they so wish to discuss that with me. Or they could go on the committee themselves and see. I think Marissa, I can't remember if Marissa went on the committee. No, I don't know if she did. No, I don't think so. Sorry, this is taking a long time.
Okay.
The last thing of the Measure B thing is the capital project update for Bike Ped. So that's on a 10-year cycle. And they were supposed to review it at the 5-year mark, and if there was money left, or people weren't completing their project, or didn't need all the money, it was supposed to go back into the pot, and they were supposed to do a mid-year. Like, then there might be more dollars to allocate it at the 5-year mark, but basically they came back and said, no, people are working on their projects, costs have escalated. There's just this mini bit, we're rolling it over for the next thing, so we're not doing a mid-year thing. But I think we're past the 5-year mark anyway. That's why I was asking them, like, where's this mid-year? Where's this mid-mark thing? It's not mid-year, but mid-cycle. Where's this mid-cycle thing? It never came to us. And so it turns out there was a reason why. But I think in a few years from now, they will do a capital project update. And I would say, you know, it would behoove us when we do the 2026 CST work plan to start identifying what project the city might want to apply for a Measure B Bike Ped infrastructure grant. And then have your application ready, because you won't win that grant if you just say, hey, I want to do this project.
Yeah.
You need to have had multiple community meetings. You need to have maybe done some cities do surveys, some cities have commissioners stand in places and do surveys, some cities have designs, you know, ideas. So that's how you win that money. Okay.
That would be really interesting, to do that exercise. Maybe look at, you know, well, maybe Stacy, you have thoughts on what were really compelling, you know, sort of applications in the recent past. Not necessarily just like how they were crafted, but like what work they actually, you know, proposed. And whether we think there's, you know, opportunity or need for that across the Southwest. I think that'd be pretty cool. Because you have so much experience seeing that.
Yeah, there's a huge swing of projects. I mean, they go from like Los Gatos wanting to do like the Creek Trail.
Yeah.
To Santa Clara having 3 or 4 projects for short segments of should we remove parking and add a bike lane?
Yeah.
Like they took money for that to do a study, and so, or some other agencies weren't. Mountain View got a grant for Miramonte, just for a little stretch of Miramonte. So they range from really big to really small.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for the study, Sunnyvale got a grant a couple years ago, East Channel Trail Study. They were studying, can we do a trail on the East Channel, which runs nearly from Homestead all the way to the bay. So they're working on that study. We'll see what comes of it. So big to small, but it's really, and do you meet the matrix? Does your project meet the matrix?
Yeah.
And the biggest guy isn't always the winner.
whatever you had for this cycle.
Yeah, sorry, we had a really busy meeting.
No, that's amazing. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, potential future agenda items. Does anyone have anything other than what we talked about already?
I have a couple new things instead of agenda items.
Oh, yeah, more report.
Well,
The colleagues, I didn't mean
maybe
to
more
fun.
of a, more of
Yeah.
a question. but,
Sure.
So a couple of weeks ago, this is maybe more for Art and Steven, that a couple of weeks ago, in the news in Palo Alto, in New City, the streetlights, a couple of them got hacked when you pushed the walk button.
I heard about that.
You heard about that, where the boys came out and it was
Elon.
Mark said that the other one was Facebook, so somebody spoofed all this and made some really goofy comment, you know? So what I was wondering is, did any of our lights get hit?
No.
Okay, and,
That's a lot, that's not right.
and is that the issue there, is that we actually had something in place to lock them down? Or so they couldn't get hacked, or have we done something so that they can't get hacked if somebody were to try to do that to our lights?
We don't even know how they did it.
We're just not important enough. We should be like that.
I mean, realistically, those systems are independent. There's no wireless connection, there's no ports or anything like that, so wow, we don't even know how they did it.
So they don't, those cities don't know either, and you talk to them and ask them?
I've been reading and I haven't seen it.
You're saying we're too low tech, right?
We're just not important.
No, we use the same equipment as they do. We just don't
So,
know how
but
to
there's a
do it.
way to access that equipment. So
Physically
someone-
By definition, yeah, that.
So someone either guessed the easy password, or someone did some kind of spear phishing,
That
or.
actually,
Is there a password?
Probably,
No, well, yeah, maybe.
it's low tech,
Yeah,
it's extremely low tech.
Oh, there's no no administrator
so
password.
you could go up and change it.
interface.
If you really wanted to, you would have to literally go in and.
Into the box.
Into the box and physically
Yeah. into
swap
the
out
box.
chips.
That's a Raspberry Pi. with it.
Well,
Yeah,
anyone give them, it's Silicon Valley, they will do that.
You guys hear how they did it, I'll be more than happy to listen, because I've been doing my fair share of research, and I heard about that. And it happened in Washington, that's where it first started.
Oh,
And then it came down to here, but nobody really knows how they did it.
I just heard about it in the news.
Yeah,
So it's like, did that hit us too? So
Yeah,
it's-
It's walking
it's not-
PGAs.
It was in Menlo Park, I believe, and Palo Alto.
yeah.
Everything easy to box it is. All right,
Thank you.
well, thanks.
What else, Jeff?
The other question was, so for that May 14th special meeting, did you see that you've got the invitations or things printed up for all the people that are in there, that area? We're in the process of sending. So you haven't actually printed those
Not yet.
invitations?
No, it gets sent to a third party that they will do stamps and all that. It's hundreds.
I don't know, I-
We don't have to put stamps on each of these postcards. So. 'Cause we do send
Apologize,
it.
bring it. So the reason I was asking that was is that if we don't have enough people to
That's
support
what I
that,
mean. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send, tomorrow morning, I'm gonna send an invite, just respond to it, you're not coming, no, and then we'll figure it out. If we don't have tomorrow, I'm not accepting, you know, there's no point.
Okay, so.
And because it was a waste of our postcards too, so I wanna make sure the postcards.
So we'll know within a week.
No, so, no, just, we'll let you know, as soon as I know, we'll change the date. So, but, yeah, please, I'll put it on the, calendar invite, you know, respond to me, you know, or just respond to me anyway, email, just let me know if you can't make it on the 14th. So I know who's coming here, who's not gonna be here. So.
We have a,
Because if we don't have forum,
we have a plan to be, Dave, with that.
I haven't even thought about it, so it's okay, and you're gonna make sure we have a room available, so, and I think they're not even, the problem is, I don't think they're even taking reservations anymore, so, we'll see. I just got the last one for the 14th.
Need for this room, or?
Well, we're actually going to Zena, because there's actually another commission, environmental commission will be in this room on the 14th. So it's not that easy to get a room, that's why I had, you know,
I know there's other rooms on.
but to fill, you know, it's a meeting, you know, it's a meeting, so I gotta say at least 30, you know, you just never know, right? So I can't get over 10
one person room.
We want it.
There's no point.
We want to expect.
And we need the Zoom and all, so,
Yeah.
it'll be all, that's true.
Okay. That's all I have.
But yeah, just, email me, can't make it, and, maybe, give me a suggestion of dates to level up. And I'll talk to, Chair, see.
Sounds good.
We can come up with.
Thanks. That's all I have.
At least I know,
Does anybody else have a report? If we're good, thank you. Does anyone else have any potential future agenda items other than what we already covered earlier? Awesome. And I think we can actually adjourn. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Come see you in 2 weeks. And thanks again, Mark, for being here. Thanks for making Bike Month. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I think we already. Did we?
No, go ahead, Steve.
Go for it.
When you said that we had canceled the subcommittee, I saw Stephen shake his head that maybe we needed to have a motion to cancel it. Do we need a motion to
No.
cancel it?
No, we don't.
We don't, all right.
Okay.
Let's go 8:59.
The meeting is already.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.